Have some
Wait.
Tostinos. Have some Tostinos.
Okay, it doesn't even matter because I had muted myself. So, like I was saying, like a wizard who has inscribed his entire spellbook all over his skin for the flair, we are back with another look at a book that probably is a bit too rough for the Twitch. I'm your DM, Garson.
Looks at one of the wizard classes. Yeah, about that, Garson.
All right, we'll get to that when we get to that. I'm your DM, Garson, and with me is my co-DM, Chitter.
Hello. Heyo.
And Cross, who, thanks to a fluke in my recording, is off with a warning this time.
Hey. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for being funny on your show.
Okay. We like to have jokes here. And with us is another friend of ours, Mantis, who was not here last week, but would like to contribute his take on the remaining classes in Kinks and Cantrips. So, where were we? Last week, with our session interrupted, we recorded a special edition of our podcast to talk about some of the classes in Kinks and Cantrips, but we only got about, I say, a third of the way through. Today, we're gonna just try to get through as all of them as we can in our time frame so we can go over every single thing and give our final thoughts on the book. I think that after we talk about the classes, this is probably the best place to stop. So,
Fair enough.
Because the items are interesting and the spells are really quite cool, but they're more just for like going over in very brief detail. Because a lot of them cover the same themes as the subclasses, but also bring a unique twist to it.
Well, and on top of that, sometimes you're not going to want certain magical items in a campaign, but classes are usually open to use.
Yeah. You have to play D&D without using a subclass. Good luck with that.
Oh, yeah. And speaking of subclasses, we're going to dive right into it with our first look at the subclass for the Druids. Now, as many of you are aware, Druids have gotten a bit of an odd rap in D&D history for a while now. They once were support classes. Now they're just everything, I guess.
Yeah,
Oh, good.
No, you go ahead.
Druids are commonly seen as like one of the more complex classes to play because just the base kit already has a lot going for it. Like you already have a suite of utility spells, healing, damage, and stuff. You have the basic stuff of a cleric, but also the ways you can use your different subclass features to interact with, the environment and enemies and stuff. But then you also have wild shape on top of that. So now you got to keep in mind what different animal stat blocks can do. So there's a lot going on. So where druids specialize their subclasses, that's what really gives any particular druid its particular flavor. You can go offensive, defensive, supportive. And there are a few different druid subclasses here, and each one does tackle a different overall play style and a general, kinky theme. So,
with that, we're going to start with the first druid subclass of Kinks and Cantrips, the Circle of the Lamb Druid. I'm going to be 100% honest. Much like the rest of this book, I am very, very, very unknowledgeable about this. So, it looks like we're going to once again pitch this over to Chitter so that she can give her take on the Circle of the Lamb Druid.
Okay. The Circle of the Lamb Druid actually falls into a category that Cross didn't mention. And that's actually a healer. Because sure, they're support, but it's actually a healer. But it does it in a very unique way. Instead of giving it during battle, you use yourself outside of battle, which is very fascinating. Because oftentimes short rests and long rests are seen as mild interruptions. But this subclass takes those and makes them the feature of what's going on. And that tends to come from, the the kink part that it's going for, service. And this is a submissive who, well, what it says on the tin, wants to serve others. It's this state of submission that you don't focus on yourself. The gratification comes from seeing the others enjoying it. And it can be with one person, it can be with many people. And that's very much reflected in this class, where you start off just by being able to basically do the bard thing of what was it called again? Song of Rest. You basically do that, but it's more flavor. You're doing stuff that they find comforting. And then lifeblood restoration is kind of the same thing, but it's more to that. You are actively giving yourself up so that that person can gain more. And along with like giving nature, this one is very much where you are fully submitting yourself. If you're wearing an open mouth gag, everything below is exposed and your hands are bound when you take a rest, any number of creatures of your choosing, so you could choose the whole damn party if you wanted to, may choose to use your body however they wish. Any creature that does so for at least 1 hour gains advantage on wisdom saving throws and are immune to being frightened for the next day, basically. And while you still gain the benefits of a shorter long rest, so, your hit die, you aren't exactly resting. So you gain a level of exhaustion. But if you do it for like one short rest that you really need to, that goes away after a long rest. So you just get a disadvantage on your ability checks. And as you keep being used, your party has to take more and more care of you, which makes sense. You take care of what is valuable to you. And the final one kind of really shows that. You pamper a creature. They are immune to being charmed or frightened, have advantage on charisma saving throws, so they can't be, whisked away to another plane or charmed or whatever. And if they take damage, you can reduce the damage by half, but you receive damage equal to the amount and type of damage reduced. So you take their pain. This is very much a class where, sure, you're doing a lot of healing spells, and sure, you're doing a lot of like service to others. You're not really gaining any benefits to yourself. But those characters around you that are being so taken care of will want to protect what is valuable to them, and you are a valuable thing to them. It's very much a case of objectification, but in a very positive way. This takes a very positive approach to that.
All right. And Mantis, what do you think, since you're new to all this?
Well, learning about this, it's like, I see the benefits, I see the ups, and I see the downs of it. I can see how the person in the class would enjoy it, and I can see how the members who are groups of that class, or group members with that class, could also benefit from it. I, as someone who's never heard, read, or seen of this book up until this point, this kind of like, for me, it's like new classes.
Oh
new
boy! Oh boy!
experience.
Oh fuck!
Good job, Garson.
Good job.
Oh fuck! Gonna need to edit that part out. Sorry, I accidentally hit the space bar and I went down to the page below it that we're not supposed to show.
Good job.
Anyway, Mantis, you were saying?
Yeah, go ahead.
So a lot of the things that I'm now learning about, like different subclasses for classes which I'm originally used to, like druids, wizards. Although I'm gonna look that wizard subclass that y'all were talking about earlier up. it's now like, I'm learning new things, and so I'm interested in it, but not for the reason like, ooh, loot stuff and hoarding stuff to do. I'm interested in it for the fact of like, new shit.
Yeah, just general new stuff to have is always fine. And we were talking about this before, that there is like a more safer work version of this book. So if you just want the classes and stuff as they are, of just new subclasses to use for your D&D game without the kinky side, you can have that. So yeah, you could definitely enjoy it just for what it is.
And
Yes.
and honestly, let's just take what this class does well. It's a healing class that knows it's a healing class. But the thing is that if we just look at some of its stuff, like, okay, that's about as far as we can go. Like, stuff like, even at level 2, you can give someone, like, temporary hit points, which is like 2d6 plus your druid level. That's actually potentially broken because, like, getting like 2d6 rolls, like, that potentially is, like, obviously 12. But if you get above an 8 plus 2, that's 10 temporary hit points. And if you go into a fight with that, you're pretty much giving your tank a good chance of absorbing at least 2 rounds worth of damage before anything bad happens. So your healer doesn't have to worry about, like, potential spell slot burnage, or the potential risk of, just not getting decent enough rolls on your healing. I think that's pretty nice. Obviously, when you look like at some of the other abilities like Lifeblood Restoration, you basically are sacrificing. It's like an emergency heal, but that's okay. I don't like the fact that it said, okay, so you do get your maximum hit points back after a long rest, but I don't like the fact that it does tack into maximum hit points. I would prefer if maybe it just dealt damage, but then that would probably be a little overpowered. So I would say that's pretty good ability. And yeah, so it looks like if you have a ball gag in your mouth, you don't have to worry about verbal component of spells. So there's that too.
You don't worry about it. You're fine.
Yeah, and I'm just going to temporarily take this down as we scroll down. So for those of you, we can't show you the next page again. But yeah, it's the 69. It's the 69 page, which, yeah.
What I find kind of fascinating about the Circle of the Lamb is that it makes you care about the healer for more than you would expect. And what I mean by that is that, sure, the tank can charge in to do whatever it wants. And sure, you can get that emergency heal, but you have to care about the heal. You have to care about them. If the healer goes down, at first you may be like, well, this sucks. But after a single rest, if you lose this healer, you're gonna feel it. You're going to feel that change in momentum and that loss of power.
And on top of that, by the way, we can't even show the page after it either, because I'll describe it. It involves an orc and a tiefling and an object that is normally protected by underwear, so we can't show that. But that
bits are shown.
Yeah, we could show the page after, though.
Yeah, exactly. But so yeah, the healing of the Circle of the Lamb Druid, I think, even if you take the kink side out of it, I like the self-sacrifice aspect. We don't normally get that from Druid. That's more of a Paladin feature, if I'm being honest. Because Paladins are all about throwing themselves into danger to protect the others, or in some cases, throwing themselves into danger to hit someone. I also can see that being a monk by throwing themselves into danger because they're monks and they just don't know when to fucking stop.
Monk shit.
Yeah, monk
anyway.
shit. Yes, exactly, monk shit. But I would say I really like this. I really like this class. I think it's pretty good. Is it my favorite? Probably not, but I would definitely see it as a high rating on like a subscale. I would give it like at least a 4.5 out of 5 on a class rating.
Yeah. It's actually funny that you mention Paladin specifically for the self-sacrifice, especially given the class that we're going to see later on. Just as a bit of foreshadowing, it's very interesting that you bring that up.
Well, let's focus
it's
on the druids and we'll work our way down because we got a lot to go through and not a whole lot of time. So we're going to go right into the next subclass, which is the Circle of Pollen Druid. And unlike a lot of the stuff, I actually get this one.
Oh, yes.
It's pretty obvious. So the rest of the class, scroll on down. Obviously, you can see why we can't show the artwork. But let me just basically break it down like this. The Circle of Pollen Druid is a pheromone druid. It basically is using pheromones to entice and, I would say, erect your well, let's be fair here. It's for your partner, but I can't do it. I can't say the joke. I can't. I fucking can't because it sounds so bad.
Let's keep it straightforward. So this is the druid who wants to who takes an aspect of plant life to well, support their party and also provide different status effects onto enemies. Things that can have a, well, like we talk about, pheromone nature and aphrodisiacs. That's the word.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, your wild shape becomes plant shape. You get to instead take on the stat block of a plant creature. And while you are using it, oh wait, no, not even while you have plant shape going. Just pollen burst later lets you use different effects for like I said, bursts of pollen or spores or whatever for different effects. You could charm people. You could do poison damage. You can add pleasure points to people. You can make them frightened. You can give disadvantage on concentration checks. Interesting.
I think that's the that would be like getting the enemy high. I would think that would definitely be something that they could get high on.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And then
Remove.
Okay.
Oh, no, go right ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say the last one of a stun effect. Yeah, you get the concentration and the stun thing at the same level. So I think they're doing like similar things where just messing with your your nerves.
And
so yeah.
And I like this actually because so I like this because honestly, druid shapeshifting into animals has always been like one of their key components. But as nature does consist of more than just animals, plants have often been overlooked. I don't know if we've ever had like a floromancer or someone who controls plants, but I would say that if that is the case, there's a good chance that this is like something unique, and I think it's also the best way to roleplay Poison Ivy if you ever wanted to do it in a D&D game. Just saying.
Yep. Definitely. Yeah, druids have a lot of spells that let them manipulate plants. You have like Entangle, Grasping Vine, Plant Growth, Commune with Nature. Some of these are the circle spells. So yeah, there's different things that will interact with plants. But this is the first time I've actually seen a subclass focus in directly on plant life as its core feature. So yeah, I think it's really cool. Like aside from the one pollen burst effect of giving pleasure points, this looks like a pretty standard druid subclass. Like this just looks like legitimately straight up. I could see this in normal D&D. It's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this class very much feels like they took a look at the Circle of the Land, Circle of the Spores, and were like, hey, they're doing the thing that is below the plant, and they're doing the thing that the plant produces. What if we did the really obvious thing of, oh, I don't know, including the plant?
Mm-hmm.
Mitch,
So,
what do you?
There you go.
Mitch, what do you think?
This this definitely takes on like it adds like a fucking Adult Swim alteration onto D&D, which is something I didn't think was plausible, and something I never thought of before. So honestly, this is something that's like it. I'm with our current D&D group. I'm not really seeing anyone focus on plants, especially in our current campaign session where we have like a shit ton of druids.
Right.
And not like and like none of them have focused on like plant life. I've not seen one of them plant a tree.
The closest would be Hydrangea with her garden. Elmari has a garden, but doesn't really do much like actually like developing and growing plants. So yeah, this is as a way to like really focus in on that aspect.
Yeah, it puts the forest in the druid, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
And on
And
top,
instead of burning down forests, you're actually using plant life.
Right. Mm-hmm.
but with that, and I think this is something to mention, there is some downside to this class too. It's not all upside, because plants, for lack of a better word, obviously don't have as good a stat blocks as beasts. They're also more vulnerable to common damage types like slashing, fire. In some regards, I think they might also be to poison. So when you take a look at that, you might get some more benefits by allowing you to do a lot of status conditions. But the trade-off is you sacrifice a lot of that survivability, and as we all know, druids are usually the frontline fighters. If they go like certain
always, but yeah.
Well, okay, like if they wild shape into, if they're like the bear wild shape, then yeah, they're the frontline fighter. The wolf, they're like the sub DPS. True. The pollen spore one, like from Ravnica, the circle of the spore druid, they're probably a little bit more support or long range caster. But this one is support and debuffing at the cost of very, very fragile form, because I'm thinking you have to be in your plant form to basically use these pollen abilities. So you can't like just cast them without being in that form. And then you're also rooted, which means you can't move unless there's a plant that lets you move. But that's another problem. So like So there's a lot of
earlier, but I see it now.
Yeah, so there's a lot of so there's a lot of good things, and I think it needs those high status effects in order to be even remotely pickable, because I don't think if I had those abilities I would pick this, because there's so many downsides to it.
Yeah, this is a big risk reward. You do open yourself up to damage. Oh god, if you get hit with a blight, you are screwed.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so yeah, you gotta be careful with this. This is not you don't want to be frontline with this subclass. This is definitely debuff support.
And on that note, before we go on to the next druid subclass, we're actually going to bring in another special guest star. She is a voice actor who is known for doing several of the high-end and fun things. It's our good friend Serenity VA. So we're going to move her in here and have her give her take on some of the kinkier sides of Kinks and Cantrips. So, 1 second. Hello, Serenity. You are now in the...
I love that. It never gets old.
Okay. Welcome, Serenity. So, we are talking about Kinks and Cantrips, the sexy D&D supplemental book. And we're talking about all different types of kinks and subclasses. We just finished wrapping up our look at the plant-based druid and how it's very fun. We can't show half of the artwork because there is a guy getting jerked off on the page before us and a lesbian foursome happening on the page before that too. So,
okay, just don't show this book to freaking Mercy or Ilmari, because they'll be like, "Hey, yo, want to try some of this?"
So I'm gonna send you the link to the book, by the way.
I sent a copy to her already.
Oh, okay.
Serenity,
So-
Got it.
So
Serenity, what's with that profile picture?
Yeah.
So- So we're gonna move on to the next druid. My final thoughts of the plant-based druid. A lot of ups. There is a lot of benefit, but a lot of risk. If you're a more experienced player, I think you could play this class pretty well. If you're a noob at playing druids, I would stick to like traditional druid roles. This one is way too risky to play if you're new to druids. So, with that being said, let's move on to the next druid, and it's Kink, the Circle of the Tamer druid, otherwise known as the Bear druid.
Not necessarily bear, because when you look down,
there are two bears in that image.
right, but look at the bottom of the page and you'll see what kink is actually being explored here.
I don't know if I can scroll faster. I think I'm okay with just showing this guy in leather armor.
Yeah,
That's fair.
but-
Go ahead.
I think I'm okay. Yeah.
If I may,
Mhm.
this is a class that I find not just from a kink perspective interesting, but from a D&D perspective very interesting. Because it's not a traditional wild shape. Instead of the druid transforming, you push those powers onto someone else to transform.
Yeah, using wild shape to transform an ally. It's definitely fascinating because, like, you would think that you wouldn't want to do this with most of your like party members, because then the question becomes, do they still have access to their class abilities? And I'm not sure about that. But it also does just say for pet shape to just a willing humanoid. So I guess if there's like an NPC who's following with the party, then you could use it on them.
Yeah, and what makes it fascinating is it's just a wild shape on them to start out with. And
Yeah.
when you cast a spell through your ally that's transformed, you can do a spell through them.
So you get like like an approach of how like a familiar works, like from wizards.
And even better, at level 6, you gain more ability because you get to do something that you can't do with wild shape for yourself. You can turn them into an aberration, dragon, or monstrosity.
Ah, okay.
So
Now we're getting interesting.
yeah. So let me ask a question to everyone then. Who is familiar with the kink that goes along with this particular druid?
That would be me.
Are we talking about brat taming?
No,
you
we
know-
actually had a brat tamer bard, the College of
Ah.
Brats, but this one's pet play.
Oh, I mean, I've dabbled in it once or twice, but I'm not the biggest fan of it. But to each their own.
Mm-hmm.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh god.
No, you go ahead.
I honestly kind of feel the same way, just about, well, one, the kink in general, and two, about like how the subclass like approaches it. Like, it's very direct. Like, oh, okay, well, you're my animal companion now. It's like, okay, I understand that. But I'm not like super excited about this idea, because while you do get some cool options of turning into different kinds of creatures at later levels, it still feels weird to either bring along some NPC to do this to, which in that case, why not just have like a normal animal companion? Or you're doing this to one of your party members. At that point, like, why are they playing their class?
Exactly, and plus it can also, like, open, because I wasn't even thinking about this until like I'm looking at the picture of the guy in the leather armor. It can also bring up the fact of where consent is really at
Mm.
Because, like, again, even if it is an NPC that you want to, use this type of skill on, or even, but it becomes aware of, okay, where's the line of consent and where is it going to get blurred? Because this could easily get blurred and this could cause issues at the table.
That is true. Yeah.
Yeah.
This I am someone who is into this stuff and and honestly, even I wouldn't want to play this class without talking to someone else at the table and working in a separate submissive class
Hmm.
like that plays well, because this feels like half of a puzzle piece.
Hmm.
And what I mean by that is this feels like Wild Shape, but more. This feels like Circle of the Moon, but more. Where, sure, you have that Wild Shape ability, but if it's not being used, it's kind of pointless.
Hmm.
But if you work with someone who is into that and works with someone who has a class that benefits from features that can be used by it, or they work together to set up things that are like spells already going on and then transform into that beast to go in with those effects, it's very much a combo class that you have to be willing to be like, okay, this is a combo and I cannot do this alone.
Uh,
And that's really tough to pull off at tables. So
exactly.
I respect what it does, but holy hell, are you going to have to make a convincing case for it?
Hmm.
You'd have to like, if you're doing. I myself am one of the guys like, yeah, I don't really, I wouldn't do it with an NPC. I would find someone like a fellow player who I know and I would trust. It's kind of like you kind of like taking that trust level, but from real life, but putting it inside of a campaign.
Right.
Hmm.
And that translation is very difficult to do.
And
If you can if
on that note, just like follow up on that, if you're doing it with an NPC, then the DM has to be involved in that. And that could be
Absolutely.
be very awkward depending on your DM in particular and how they are how they can pull it off. Because if you do not have that type of DM who can go along with being like the submissive pet in this type of gameplay, it's going to be very difficult to get that effect going on where it feels believable, and it could easily like just become awkward at the table. Because so I think what Mantis said is probably the best way to handle it. This feels like this should be between two players that have previously, before the campaign has started, or as the campaign has gone along, that they are aware of what's happening.
Yeah. It's a very difficult class to pull off, but if you can do it, I genuinely I love the idea, and I love how it embraces it. It doesn't try to force you into it, or make it so that it has to be an NPC. It drags you into it. It makes you respect the kink for what it is and the communication that you have to do.
So
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, and that's just the background of this, because the class also has stuff like, it looks like its main gimmick is empowering the pet, and that's probably what
Yeah.
it's meant to be. Why is this
Yeah,
like the...
we were discussing that earlier, that yeah, you could get like different kinds of creatures to turn the person into, and you can give it some other benefits later, but still you just need that foundation of trust between, well, not just between the characters, but also between the players, or player and DM, like whoever, however you're setting it up. So yeah.
So I would say good class, probably a if you can get someone to go along with this and who can build a class to support what you're doing, I'd say this is pretty fun. I would say this would probably be a decent one. I think I like this one more than the pollen one just because it's a little bit more freeing, but also has a lot less risk involved in it.
Fair enough.
And that actually moves on to the next classifier. We're going to be going on to the fighters, and this particular fighter, the dynamic duelist, is actually representing the switches.
Hey, let's go, fellow
go.
switches.
Raise his hand.
Raise his hand
Looks at-
also. Ah.
Okay,
Yay.
well, I think we're going to be focusing a lot on this class than looking at everyone in the chat.
So
Raise his hand as a switch fighter.
a so here's the thing. I was looking at this class earlier just independently, and I love it for a multitude of reasons. One, well, just switches in general is just a nice concept because you get to engage with either side of that kind of relationship. Also, hi, whip swords. I love whips. I love swords. You put them together. It's amazing. Hi. I'm just give me a second while I just screenshot just this character. Like, hi, I'm gonna use you. I'm gonna use this concept in a game at some point. 'Cause that's just super freaking cool. But then I kind of get stopped a little bit as I go into the actual class features, because then I see that this class focuses a lot more on the pain aspects, which kind of makes sense. Because you think of whips, you think of kinky stuff, and you think of, oh, okay, they're using the whip to yeah. I can't talk.
Yeah.
Cross is just having a moment.
I'm
Cross
having
is
a
just
moment.
fangirling over there. Be like,
Yeah.
sees the person in the book and be like, "Ooh, is that Ivy from Soul Calibur with the chain?
I mean-
the chainsword?" And you're like, You're as a neuron activation.
So before we go into how this represents the kink, because I do want to hear that aspect of it, I want to just mention that it looks like this fighter class focuses on either being a top or a bottom. Oh, sweet Jesus.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I know, but it looks like depending on if they're being top or bottom, their attacks will actually do different effects. So you have to keep track of that switch mechanic. Oh my god, what am I don't know. Why am I saying this? I'm trying to say this. I'm trying to say this with respect is what I'm trying to do. And I kind of like that, because it looks like out of all of the stuff, it looks like the majority of it is, some of it can be like for example, just looking at the first ability, if you're in top mode, you get hit with a ranged attack, you can add 1 pain to the target and then deal bonus piercing damage. That's pretty good. If you're being a bottom, when you hit with a melee attack, you may either gain temporary hit points equal to current pain or gain 1 pain. So you could also heal yourself. This is actually pretty good. I like that. But as someone who has absolutely no idea about the concept of being a switch, slowly looks I'm gonna let
the Peanut Gallery is holding their comments.
I had a feeling that they would. So the Peanut Gallery. Why don't you tell me how this particular class plays into the concept of being a switch?
Okay, so just as in general, just looking at it, like, the abilities and the type of, like, the categorization of top and bottom, because like, for example, punishing strike, you are that usually the dom in any dominant submissive relationship would take the more top role and the more forthcoming. So, and the bottom, usually 9 times out of 10, is getting punished because, they've done something they're not supposed to do. But I mean, this really much represents the kink because, again, it's the duality of everything and of showing of how it can work with both sides. Because, again, as a switch myself, I can, there's sometimes I want to be the dominant one, but then there's other times I'm just like, take control out of my hands. I'm like, take it out of my hands, so.
Yeah, yeah. It represents the Switch dynamic pretty well. I would be I would be perfectly in love with the subclass if it focused more on doing pleasure stuff as instead of pain, because I'm averse to pain personally. But as far as like a representation of it, I do like it in that regard. And I love how you can switch between modes basically whenever you want. It just says you can change your style just for free at the end of your turn. So just in between turns, you're like, I'm feeling this way now, and boom, there you go.
So
Yeah,
So
real quick, I want
as
to ask someone if they can explain one of the mechanics to me, and that is the capstone ability for this is best of both, where you essentially forego being a top or a bottom and you become balanced. And I would like if everyone could at least explain to me, is that a legitimate way that they've incorporated the kink, or do you think if it's more of a gameplay balancing situation?
if I may,
And
I genuinely think that that is a wonderful way of implementing it, because here's the thing: as a Switch, you can be in both. There are times in my mindset where I have absolutely wanted to dom someone, but absolutely wanted someone else to use me at the same time. That has been a total thing that's happened. But the thing that I love the most about it is that it's a very temporary thing. While balanced, you're considered to be in both states of mind, and in effect cannot change your state of mind, because that's a moment of intense focus for it. But after that minute pass, you need to return to that top or bottom state of mind. Now, obviously, a minute in real life is really quick, but in terms of combat, that's 10 rounds and yada yada yada. We know how long 6 seconds can be.
Yep.
Especially for the male persuasion. But
Hey,
but
anyways.
oh, judo chop you.
but the thing is that that temporary state of mind is very, very true when it comes to embracing both sides of being a top and a bottom in a Switch mindset. If you are feeling both, it's a very powerful sense of being, but it's also a very temporary sense of being.
Hmm. Serenity, Mantis, do you have anything to add to that?
Trinity, if you do, go ahead. Okay. From what I'm seeing and from my experience as like interacting with people as a Switch, and especially as a fighter, um, and seeing like reading and everything and seeing how it like switching combat, like switching like mid combat, like between turns and everything like that. I'm from like my perspective, in my opinion, um, it's more of like a game balance because I don't have a lot of experiences in it. I don't have any experience at all in the bed. But it's like, how should I say it? It's like, say you had two weapons. You're going like long range. You got like your sniper rifle in both pouch, like sniper rifle in one pouch, shotgun in the other. You're switching between two different combat styles for like game balance.
Mm-hmm.
That's like kind of like it's like what's the best way to put it? It's it's not real. Yeah, you can. Yeah, there's like the kinky aspect to it, like outside of combat, but during combat, I don't. Other than like the abilities, I don't see the switch aspect to it.
I mean, the the Switch aspect is just the fact that you are getting one set of features just at a time, and you literally switch between them basically just each turn. So yeah, that tends, from my experience, that tends to just be just like how Switches are. Just speaking for myself, there are some days where I'm like, okay, well, I like having this like power over someone, or other days I feel like I want to be used. So yeah, and that plays into this here, where a lot of the top effects is always you being active and aggressive and doing stuff to enemies, whereas the bottom effects are more defensive and taking things from others. So uh, yeah, I see what you mean about best of both being a like gameplay balancing thing. Like it's neat to just unify both effects together, and a lot of video games do that, where you'll have multiple modes and then just have them together into one thing. So yeah.
I can see like if they like rather than switching mid combat, I can see it more as like switching out of combat.
Okay.
Like let's say one fight you're fucking dominating it, you're on top of everyone, and then you're like, yeah, I like this. And then outside of combat, you're like, okay, I don't want to top it again. I'm a I'm a not top it next time for for anything other than that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So I think that pretty much sums up the dynamic duelist fighter. I got to admit, again, this is a really fun class. Fighters are usually, in my opinion, like the most versatile class in D&D, because I think Hasbro just really likes them. But it's always nice to see what kind of hunters, what kind of fighters you could have. And this one, I like the chainsword aspect. And honestly, the top or bottom thing, all you have to do is just like Control F and replace top or bottom with like any two phrases that are opposites of one another. You could easily import this into D&D 5th edition, and it would probably and I'll be 100% honest. Like Cross said, whip swords are an automatic draw into a lot of people, so they would probably be wanting to play it.
It's really cool.
So that
yeah,
actually,
I know the
and that leads us into the
I'm
next one
sorry.
pretty well. Sorry, Cross.
Yeah. See about that whip swords.
Yeah, well, we're gonna ignore
like
the
whips are cool. So hi.
Let's talk about more whips. We're gonna be talking about the Tormenting Hunter fighter, which I believe, yep, the Corporal Hunter. It's the Riding Crop Hunter fighter.
Yeah, this is your sadist.
The more fucking dominatrix style looking fighter.
Oh no, Mantis, this is far more than a dominatrix. This is a sadist. There's a big difference.
Yeah.
This is the love. This is the chaotic evil class. This is what that dark elf from Baldur's Gate 3 wishes she could be.
Yep. Yep.
So Tormenting Hunters, they are corporal punishment doms, which I believe, if we basically just take a look at that, they are the ones who like to just crack the whip and cause the pain. They're sadists first and foremost. They don't have they are probably the most hardcore of sadomasochistic characters, at least just based on what I'm aware of. And this screams it. Like, yeah, there's no other way to describe it. Okay, I don't know if we can. I think we can show that next scene, but we're not there just yet. Now, yeah.
This class to me is aside from obviously the pain feature, this one I feel could even more easily be put into a proper 5e book, because this one is just straight up beating the shit out of people.
Yep.
And as someone who, well, is into that, it's very interesting that the simplicity of it tells a very interesting story about it. This is a class where it's not so much the kink is in the features, it's in the story that they tell, where it starts out with a sadist learning to just put their focus on someone and then being able to shift that focus and then being able to be consistent with it, then issuing orders, and then being able to keep that focus. That's a going like straight from 3 to 20, which is like a full long campaign in it of itself. That's a story arc right there. It's very, very rare that you find any subclass with a very consistent and easy to see, but also easy to play story arc in their subclass. That is rare, and I love it.
Mm-hmm. I'm looking into the effects that this subclass has, and I mean, quite fittingly, it is brutal. Like, already marking effects are already very powerful in D&D. We know Hunter's Mark is a powerful spell. But yeah, this is like, okay, I'm coming after you. That's what this class does. And look, all of your attacks against your focused target are made with advantage. That is insane, given that fighters can get upwards to 4 attacks at high levels. Possibly even more if you throw on action surge or any others like special abilities that can give them more attacks. You give one of these fighters haste. Oh man, like that is a lot of attacks. So that's potentially a lot of crits. Now, here's the thing. This is another class that uses the pain system. Later on, its level 10 feature allows you to deal extra damage to whoever you hit, equal to their pain. And you can give your target pain if you're hitting them with certain weapons, like we obviously know of whips. But they also have floggers and striking canes, which are specific weapons that are found in this book. So those, if I remember correctly, about that, I definitely noticed about whips. Those tend to be low damage, but then the trade-off of getting extra damage for higher pain on the target means that it's gonna balance out very, very quickly, and eventually that's just gonna cause those stat decreases from having too much pain. So yeah, this can get very brutal very, very quickly.
And just that, and here's the thing, you take that -5 penalty on the next attack roll as a fighter, that doesn't matter. You're getting a lot of chances.
Especially because this is on your focus target. Yeah, you have -5, but you still have advantage. You're still pretty likely to hit.
Like, averaging that out when having done the math, advantage/disadvantage gives a plus-minus of 3.5 roughly. So with that -5 penalty, that is -1.5. That is not much in terms of AC and whatnot.
Yeah,
so,
on average.
And if you get multiple hits in that, you're doing, well, a cadence beating. You're beating the shit out of them, and it gets worse every single time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, after you all described that, I think it's actually making a lot of sense why the fighter got this class and not like the barbarian, because yeah, it's like the more you describe it, it's like, okay, I don't even think we need to go over the kink side of this. It just sounds like a normal fighter who just really wants to hit you.
Yeah, it's someone who, in the world of Bundheim, is very... they still have to give consent to it and whatnot, unless they're going up against someone who doesn't give a shit about that and wants to do worse to them. But it's very much someone who is sadistic and someone who wants to inflict that damage. And, like, pain is awesome in some ways. And this class just pardon the pun, just nails it.
Mm-hmm. Mantis Serenity. What do you think?
Hmm.
Definitely, like,
Oh, go ahead.
again, it does make sense why you gave it to the fighter, because the fighter can physically handle it from a a stat point of view. Because I think if you gave it to any other class, it would be actually more of a hindrance
True.
than anything. But all in all, I would say the only thing, because the only thing that I don't like about this class is, yeah, yes, it's great to like multiple attacks. Great, that can bring off some big damage if you're in a fight with the big evil, and that could take a chunk of their health. But again, just one thing, and like me, from an outside player's perspective, like having one person take up a lot of time during the session for just their character can be
Mm.
seen a little bit, like, I don't want to say like bad, but it can be seen as a hassle. Um, Even to outside players, like it can, like, I hate to throw like our party under the bus, but like Chitter, when you do your attack, sometimes Garson's like, okay, how much is okay, do this, get. There's so much calculation involved.
Yeah,
that-
I need to have it ready to go.
yeah, but
Like
usually, what if you
I would
don't
not.
have a DM that who's ready to go with that?
Yeah, like I will say this: when we get into a fight, I am ready to go even on every single action because my shit has so much calculations that I need to be just I cannot dilly-dally. I have to be fast to make sure that I'm not taking up anyone else's time.
Mhm.
This is very much a class for an experienced player because there's so many calculations that you have to
Mm.
that if you're going into it, you have to be ready to go quick and fast and keep the pace.
And also, you also have to communicate with your game master about this, because again, your game master may or not be willing or wanting to deal with all those calculations.
Yeah.
True.
It's very much that, especially in our game, uh Garson is a very graceful DM
Oh yeah,
because
absolutely.
yeah,
Even though we
Mhm.
pick on him a lot, he is very graceful, and he is very forgiving.
yeah.
Mhm.
Like if there's a
He's like,
calculation that
uh-huh.
yeah. Yeah.
No, I'm
If
getting
there's a
praised. I'm not
calculation
stopping this.
if there's
Like,
a
yes, inflate my
calculation,
Ingo more.
Yeah.
yeah. If there's a calculation that's very slow on my end for say like roll 20s being slow and whatnot, I'm
Mm.
very grateful that Garson is like, hey, we can wait a moment and let roll 20 catch up.
Yeah.
And that's actually
And I
good.
think no. Go ahead, Garson.
I was just gonna say, and you're right. Like for let's say, as what Serenity said is absolutely right. As a DM, I'm not very fast, and it's not anything I'm doing wrong. It's just I want to make sure that we're getting everything correct, so we don't accidentally have like a one-shot kill, or God forbid we make a mistake on a move, or we don't pass a check properly. And for more experienced DMs, they probably can do it a lot faster, but for new DMs, they're not going to be able to calculate this. Like, this is like a lot of attacks in one turn that arguably there's a lot to like, for example, you might have to like calculate each okay, I still don't know if I can scroll down that one. You got to calculate each whip attack, which means you got to make sure that the bonuses are added up correctly. If they added their bonuses before they attack, you got to make sure that those are added up correctly. And sometimes, people who aren't really good at doing math, it's going to take up some time. And when you have a limited game session time every week, sometimes it's probably better to pick a class that maybe doesn't do a whole lot of one thing, but does something like can do one thing really well, I guess would be the best way to describe it. So I actually agree with Serenity on that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Roll
that's all.
20 is. Oh, go ahead.
No. I was actually going to bring up Roll20. I would think this subclass would be a great, like, if you are have an in-person game party, like, the good old fashioned nerds in a room for 4 hours with cookies
Yep.
Yeah,
and beer.
that actually
This
sounds
class
pretty
would be
good.
perfect. I know, but like again, I mean, there are probably people who have attempted to use this class over an online platform like Roll20 or stuff like that. It's just again having the programs and having like the technology um not be where it could be to simulate an actual in-person party um and really hinder it, especially when playing this class. Because again, this class is very expert. Like Chitter said, it's very expertise. You have to know. You have to be in the game. You have to have been through the trenches. You can't be like a newbie. Be like, ooh, I like this one.
Yeah, no, you gotta know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
just as a bit of a side note on that one, fighters are typically some of the easier classes to play because their whole gimmick is multiple attacks in one turn, and just using different weapons to pull that off. So, but the thing about some fighters is that, for example, when Mantis was playing his fighter in our last campaign, that guy had at most maybe 2 or 3 extra attacks, and that was just single. That was like 1, 2, 3 rolls on it, and then that was it. But when you're doing something like when you're turning a whip, which is typically not a very damaging weapon, you got to be like, okay, so I'm doing 5 whip attacks because I do it really fast, and I'm adding a +8 to that, and then I got the bonus from my support class who's helping me deal more damage, so I can deal a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yeah, this is I find it kind of funny that you said like, oh yeah, fighters are typically for like it's like an easier class for beginners. One of the common complaints is that the fighter is too easy. That's a common complaint in the advanced D&D communities. This class takes that and goes, okay, you want more to your fighter? Go use this. Prove that you can use a more advanced class. Because if you can't, there's the champion, there's all those easier classes for you to get back to.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll say this. Me personally, I don't think I would allow this class in our campaign yet. Give me a couple more sessions of experience, maybe a campaign or 2 more, and then we'll include it. Basically, when I'm able to say like, okay, this is how each hit would work, and then I would know how the calculations work, then I would probably include that. But for now, I would say no more indie idea.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And plus, like, also I don't know, maybe I'm looking too far into like the attacks, but when it comes to the long attack of there's something that can go wrong. Like a check can be failed
Mhm.
and
Mm.
it just kills the momentum of the attack. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah, it is.
Oh
And
yeah,
like it like for example, just let's say hypothetically you get a debuff and it's like now every fight going, like let's say you hit someone and then you get debuffed because of like a reaction ability. So now you got to calculate the new attack rolls afterwards with like that debuff, and then it could just throw the whole thing off like immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very much a class that uh it's very interesting that they put it into book format the way it is, because I feel like this class would be better, and it would actually be easier for our table to run it than a physical table, because the virtual tabletop would handle at least some of those calculations on its own, which is
Yeah.
incredibly nice.
Yeah, but then then the extra calculations would have to be factored in by person, and then depending on who's doing the factoring, there could be an error even in the computer's
Yeah.
calculations.
Yeah,
Because
this
a
is
computer is only as good as what information you put into it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. This is very much a class that is advanced. And
Mm.
the kink
Actually, I
itself,
would like this class to be more. I think this class is literally like a step below an NPC. Like I would like to see this as a boss in a campaign.
Oh,
Because
yes.
this would be
Yes.
so interesting to fight against.
Ooh.
Because
Yeah.
you've got, again, the multiple attacks and the multiple rolls. I feel like this would be a very good, like, challenging, um,
Hey, Garson,
big
you want
bad.
to?
Hey,
This is
hey,
your.
Garson, I'm giving you an idea here.
I'm writing it
This is-
down. I
You
might have
write it down.
I might have Amicis play it because Amicis has said multiple times he wanted to play like Indiana Jones, so we could probably work that way out a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And
this would be a really good, like, NPC bad guy to
Mhm.
go up against.
Yeah.
So,
Actually, there is one more thing that I do want to add with this class, and it's very fascinating. This class, we're all talking about how at the table, this is a very difficult class to play, but I also respect that because the kink involved is incredibly difficult to pull off. Corporal punishment is very, very easy to go wrong or overdo. And I respect that the table itself has to respect that difficulty.
mhm.
I think that pretty much sums up this type of hunter, and I think we've all said a good amount of just generalization ideas of what it comes to running a class like that, and also what it could potentially have for a campaign. So I think you're right. So with that, I think we're gonna move on to a little bit of a lighter topic for our next class. We're gonna be talking
I'm gonna
about
like
the
this
way of the
one.
feather monk, which is the tickling monk.
Oh
Yep.
my gosh. Okay. See, like, okay, before we get into like the class, I will say the tickling fetish is very obscure, and there has been like a lot of like media documentary about this sort of fetish and how it can be used in a lot of different scenarios. Like, but and I find it so funny that especially D&D can take this kind of silly, funny little kink and kind of make it fun in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
And what I find so fascinating about this class and the fetish itself is that you don't think much of it until you're in the situation,
Exactly.
and then you're going, oh shit, please let this stop. Like for
Or you're like,
example,
how did I get here?
yeah,
Yep.
like for example, the monk itself, it has stuff that on the surface is absolute would be considered bad if you were trying to convince someone to play it who didn't already want to. This
Mhm.
class is basically like, hey, you have to force a creature to make a con save against your key save DC. Then creatures are restrained, make this saving throw with disadvantage for obvious reasons. But on a failure, the creature and you fall prone, and the target basically becomes under a Tasha's hideous laughter, and it doesn't break your grapple. If you use this ability on a creature that is already laughing, you need not spend a key point because, well, duh. And if a creature that is incapacitated from laughing in this way takes damage, it may make another con save, ending the effect on a success. So you're basically going to say, hey, I'm going to put myself at a disadvantage, but I'm going to be able to incapacitate and basically make something prone, which basically gives the rest of the party I believe it is advantage, and there's something else with incapacitated. They can't take
No.
actions or reactions. So basically, if you leave uh this creature alone and you just let the monk go, pardon my French, um go to town on them, you cannot stop you cannot be stopped because of how powerful that is. And also, you make unbreakable pin is making grapple checks with advantage, which for obvious reasons that needs a little bit more work, but hey, that's great. And you may use your acrobatics skill instead of strength when making an acrobatics, and you can use strength or wisdom when making athletic skill checks, so that's even better. But then torture sensation comes in, and when a creature fails the saving throw for your nerve assault ability as a reaction, you may have them gain 1 pain. You can make that even more painful. And believe me, if you if you've been tickled before and you don't want to be, it can be painful. It can be very painful. And and if a result of this effect, the creature must make a Constitution saving throw for exceeding its maximum pain, you can then spend a key point to impose disadvantage on that saving throw, and then pain just kicks in a lot more easily. And sure, this monk is not going to do a lot of damage right away, but it will take someone out of the fight. And monks generally speaking, are frontline to DPS players. So if you're going to take someone out of the fight and then potentially do a little damage on the side, that's incredible. And then the 17th one is basically you going, oh, was that supposed to hurt? like that's that's an amazing capstone where you yourself are feeling a bit of the ticklish part, but that's because someone just tried to throw a fireball at you or something, and you're like, well, shit, this feels awesome.
Can I add can I add
No,
something
you go
super
ahead,
quick?
Garson.
All right, I
Yeah.
just want to add something super quick because while we were all talking about that, Amos actually messaged me, and he was mentioning that if you had a proficiency in intimidation, you could, in theory, intimidate someone while they're prone because they're going to have disadvantage on saving throws, and that could potentially allow you to use the tickle in a more like overworld style and not in combat type of mechanic. So it adds another benefit to that, and it's very easy to get the intimidation proficiency. You just need to select a background that gives it to you, and there's a lot of them. So it doesn't even really affect how you're affect your build at all. It's just an extra benefit that you can have. And honestly, my other thing, and I want to mention this, is that to me, this feels like a great monk class because monks don't really feel like DPSs to me. They feel like sub DPSs. And to give you an example of what that is, sub DPSs in my mind are people that are classes that do damage, but they don't primarily do damage. They have other effects that complement the true damage dealers. Like, for example, sorcerers and wizards, those are your main DPSers, and then monks and fighters would be, or monks are like your sub DPS along with rogues because they can inflict status conditions.
Yep. This status condition, incapacitate, is pretty powerful if it goes off. Yeah.
Yeah. You're not taking on a big group at once, but if there's one person in particular that's being incredibly annoying, here comes a tickler.
Yep. Now, this is already balanced by the fact that it's a saving throw, and a lot of monsters have good con saves. But you only need this to really go off like once. If this happens at all in a fight, it's like the monk's stunning strike. Like, it just needs to happen once, and already that is a game changer in any encounter. So this could be very, very powerful if it lands. And then the kink aspect of it, I'm personally not a fan of tickling. I'm too sensitive to it. Like any little just touch on my sides, and I just immediately spaz. I'm like, nope, don't like that touch. I'm too sensitive. So
Gonna raise the hand again as someone who I'm just gonna keep my hand up until we find one that I'm not into, okay?
I was about to say,
Bonk.
Chitter, do you have a bingo card of like? Are we keeping a bingo card for Chitter of all of the kings?
Fair enough.
Look, how about you have a bingo card for the ones I don't have and see who gets a bingo first?
True. Also, I feel like if we turn this into a drinking session, chicken
I
would
would be
drunk.
gone by
Yeah.
the cleric. I would
I'm
be
reminded-
gone.
I'm reminded of the one scene from Family Guy where the guys are playing Never Have I Ever, and Quagmire is drinking with literally everything they say.
Exactly.
It's like,
You're
bro.
basically pulling a Quagmire at this point.
Mantis, what do you
at
think?
least I'm not. At least I understand consent instead
You
of
know what? That
Quagmire.
is very true.
Valid.
Very true.
Yeah.
Valid.
Speaking of,
Anyway.
well, okay, not speaking of, because this actually has no correlation whatsoever to the segue. Mantis, do you have anything to
job.
add about the tickling monk? Okay, then.
Honestly, it's a bit of a shocker to me. I don't understand the tickling monk.
That's okay. You don't have to understand.
Yeah, it's meant for the ones who do enjoy the tickling. At least they are represented by a monk. And honestly, I don't get it either, but it feels like this monk is meant to do one thing, and that's incapacitate someone while everyone else beats up on the squishy target so that there's no threat. I like it.
Yeah.
It's a good class. A bit basic though.
As I will just say, as far as like adapting this to a normal game, you could imagine this as a grappler who focuses on pressure point on martial arts. Like, instead of it being tickling, no, they're finding the right pressure points to press onto, and that causes their target to seize up and not be able to like act properly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I also
Now
before we move
that I could see and understand more.
Okay, you were saying,
Yeah.
Serenity?
Also another thing, it could be like, I don't know if we probably didn't mention like the I want to say the embarrassment factor of like if you're on the opposite end of this of the monk. If you are getting attacked by the tickling monk, again, you got to think of the embarrassment.
Yeah, like as
If
a
it's not
D-
in it's like insult to injury. Like, yeah, because I'm like, because I just imagine like an NPC being in that in like that sort of situation. They'd be like, okay, I don't know whether to feel like my ego is bruised or I'm bruised.
Yeah, this would be very much a case where if I was a DM ruling it was in like a social situation or like trying to convince a separate party that just arrived on the scene, like a police force or whatnot, that NPC would be rolling with like persuasion disadvantage. I'm sorry, that is how I would rule that.
I just want to say one thing in that as a DM. Here's how I would potentially rule it. So this is gonna be a little bit of a. Let me ask real quick. Has anyone seen that that perception check video where the bar keeps rolling natural 20s and he's like, "I cast Vicious Mockery, nat 20, let's go."
Yes,
Yes.
basically
Yeah.
the whole song.
If you got a 20 on the tickle, I would have been like, all right, your tickle absolutely shattered the mind of the individual, and they were never going to recover from this.
Just think about the psych damage somebody could take from that.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That is 100% true. Okay, so I'm gonna say this: the tickling monk, it feels like a good class. I think it'd be fun to see someone play it. I don't know if I would play it as a player, but I would like to see I would love to see a campaign where someone's playing this and I get to DM it.
I would like to see this class played not in particularly a fighting standpoint, like on the battlefield, but as in a interrogator. Like,
I can see that.
So speaking, so that would actually be,
you
I
know,
like that too, actually.
because like the thing is, like, what do you think of the situation? You want to get somebody to talk. What could you do? You could send in the tickling monk, and they
There
will
you go.
squeal. And not only that, not only is it so outlandish, but it's funny.
It's very funny.
Yeah.
You can tell it's funny because they're laughing.
Okay. So that actually brings me on to the next class we're going to be talking about with the monk, and it is the Way of the Heelbreaker monk. Otherwise known as the Steppies monk.
I'm just going to keep my hand raised and go, please step on me.
Quite literally.
Later, Chitter, later.
So,
Hey,
this...
yo.
God fucking damn it. Every episode we've been doing on this topic, I break like once an episode where it's just like, God damn it. Okay, so this is the Heelbreaker monk, or as I would lovingly call it, the Chun-Li monk.
No, this is not Chun-Li. This is Jury
Oh no.
from Street Fighter.
Oh.
This is what Jury would be.
So, yeah, so this monk particularly likes to fight in... Well, I'm just going to show the artwork. They wear high heels and deliver stomps. It's the foot fetish monk. Oh, go
Yeah.
on. So
Now see with this as a monk, I can see a little bit more of it than the tickling one, because imagine you're fighting a monk and all of a sudden they come swinging down a 5-inch thick boot on your face, and as they proceed to land that kick, they just stomp down on your face as well.
Yep.
Good luck with that. But
Ow.
what makes it interesting is that you not only get to scare the person who you're kicking, because well, getting a heel to the face would probably scare you, but if there's an adjacent creature, you can make an contested intimidation against an adjacent creature's intimidation. And if you succeed, that creature also goes down on their knees, going, oh shit.
Oh shit, not good.
And then once you do that, then you get to Suffering Stomp, which that prone creature, once you proceed to swing your foot in their direction, you get to add a pain. And as an action, you may make a single unarmed attack with your feet against the prone creature. If you hit, the attack deals 1d6 additional bludgeoning damage for every pain point the target creature has. So you can just kick them on the side of your foot, and then you go, yeah, you've been what's the cooking term for, like, you've been tenderized enough. Here, let me give you the final kick. And then boom, make every bit of pain they've had step up.
There you go.
I don't know if I want to focus so much on this one, because it's pretty basic. It's a stompy class, but the only thing I can think of right now is I'm thinking of Miroku from My Hero Academia, where with the rabbit legs.
But 17 is just ridiculous.
Yeah, getting free crits. Like at that point, your unarmed strikes are doing a D12 of damage in a new version of Monk. So, and you're getting, with Flurry of Blows, like we talked about this earlier about multiple attacks, you're getting upwards of 4, maybe 5 attacks. And if you have enough key points, you can make them all crits. That person is not getting back up.
How did he die? Crushed pelvises.
Yeah, and also, it gets worse when you think about it, because combine that with Suffering Stomp. Basically, you do your Flurry of Blows, and after you hit them with each of them, you can add a pain. But then next turn, you go, I've done enough. I've played with you enough. And then you just go boom, and you land one hit, and you probably have like 5-6 points of pain. So you're adding like a mini fireball onto your step.
Yep.
Wait, I just realized something.
Mm-hmm.
This is the Fist of the North Star monk.
How?
Okay, well, as we all know, the Fist of the North Star, Tenjiro hits the pressure points, and then he delivers one final attack, and then they explode. In a sense, Suffering Stomp, multiple hits from Fury of Blows, build up the pain points, you land one last attack, the pain explodes, they die. Combine that with the super crit ability, and we're talking the Omaya non die.
I can say.
You're already dead.
Okay, I can see that.
But yeah, Serenity Mantis, do you have anything you want to add to the Stompy Monk?
No, it's pretty basic. It's just this very very footwork inducing monk.
Mm-hmm.
And the funny thing is with this class is it would be incredibly easy to turn this into a 5e class. Just make it a tap dancing monk.
or
I mean,
This next monk is gonna be interesting.
I mean, I don't think you necessarily even need to like reflavor it, because again, this kind of fighting is just a normal thing. Once again, this is Juri Han from Street Fighter. Like this is mainstream. This isn't even so much a game thing. This is just how a mainstream fighting game character fights.
I think we can shout out to Stompy Monk. Yeah, I would say like I don't think they can. And Amasis was asking, can they throw the heels as a ranged weapon? I don't think they can, but I also think they don't need the shoes either. I think those are just more painful. And so we're gonna move on to so we got a lot more to talk about, obviously, and this one's pretty basic. It's big stompy damage. It's a big stompy monk. But it's a very fun monk, I'll say that. This one's gonna be a little bit more in depth. We're gonna be talking about the Way of the Wick monk, which is Wax Monk.
Here.
Yeah.
Chitter.
I knew this one was gonna be interesting.
Chitter.
Okay.
So we're gonna let Chitter
Wax
talk.
Monk.
Yeah, we're gonna let Chitter and Cross talk about this because I have no knowledge about this whatsoever.
First of all,
Cross.
Chitter, is the hand still up?
Yes.
Go ahead. You talk about it.
Okay. Like we make the jokes about me having all of the kinks and whatnot. Wax play is one of my absolute favorites because it's that sensation and pain of heat, and there is that sense of risk, but also there's this sense of like being a bit more in control with it than say like a branding or whatnot. I cannot believe I talked about branding on this show. Anyways,
I can't either.
It was bound to happen.
Yeah.
shut up, both of you.
All right.
But here's the thing. Here's what I find very interesting about this. There's a class later on with the Ranger where this could have taken what the Ranger did and made it into a monk thing. It didn't, and I respect it for it. Wax play is very difficult to do safely if you don't know what you're doing.
Right.
But at the same time, if it's done properly, it's amazing. And the way this class starts out is you get a specialized set of gauntlets, which that sounds like a Kensei monk. That's amazing. They don't count as armor, and you don't lose the benefits of unarmored defense. And these are the way that you use your Way of the Wick. So basically, sure, you get like these cool gauntlets that basically enable you to use your power. That's a roleplay element of having to keep those in check. That is awesome. I love that. I love when a class relies on something, so you as the player have to keep track of that. That's
again, that side, you also hate that. You hate that you rely on something
yeah.
solely.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, trust me, we'll get to another class that relies on something a lot more than this, and it's one of my favorites. So,
At this point, I know Chitter is just a sucker for punishment.
Rusty Sock Goblin.
Absolute bottom. Absolute bottom is what Chitter is.
Shut up, both of you. Anyways, let me talk about getting fucking burned. I can't believe I. Anyways,
Wait, Cheddar, getting burned in a roast or getting like physically burned?
Apparently both today.
I mean, this is again. You invited me on. This is the
I
consequences
didn't
of
do
your
shit. Garson did.
What did I
Again.
do?
When you bring me into any situation, everything becomes a little bit more fun.
I
That's
agree.
true. Oh, yes.
That's why we wanted to have you, Serenity. You're a great commentary
you know
on
what?
this.
You know what? I'm gonna be a permanent host. I'm just gonna. I'm making myself the permanent like third person. Hi.
I mean, I wouldn't say no to that. We do want to have guests on and have more people on. So if you want to join, we can talk about that afterwards.
yeah.
Let's get back to the furry.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
So-
I love furries.
So basically, this class very much focuses on, basically using the wax in a very, not it uses it more for combat than play, and I respect it for that. Also, Blazing Drive, you brand yourself. Fucking god damn it! I should have read further.
Good job.
That's what happens.
Anyway,
Yes.
anyways, the thing is that it also brings about that element of pain to yourself. Now, a lot of the classes that we've talked about, the benefit of pain has been to push it onto your enemy.
Mhm.
This one goes basic. It does that right away with like Searing Brand. God damn it, I
Mhm.
really should have read ahead. And Erupting Strike, where it then removes that pain, but it gives more pain in the moment.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
But for Blazing Drive, you get a bonus action to brand yourself. You take that bit of pain, and then you deal more damage. So you're putting more risk on yourself, and then you do more damage at the risk of potentially taking more damage in the future and having a lot of shit happen.
Mhm.
But also then there's the Whip of Wax, which is basically spending two key points and doing a waxy arms of Hadar and inflicting fire damage for every point of pain that enemies have around you.
That's pretty
And
good.
and then Boiling Form is spending another 2 key points where they deal that fire damage instead of their normal damage. And the first time that you enters a creature's space, you go, hey, you know what would be a really fun idea? Whoosh.
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 And they
Whoosh.
go ablaze.
Whoosh.
So you basically go, you know what's a lot like wax? Skin. And they
Mhm.
set on fire.
Yep.
Basically,
And that
cause somebody to spontaneously combust.
yeah.
Mhm.
And until they douse the blaze, they take 1d fire damage at the start of each of its turn and gains 1 pain.
Ow.
Now here's the thing. We might want to take a look right back at Erupting Strike, which goes, hi there.
Hmm.
Remember me?
Like,
And that fire that's on them causing them that pain? Sure, for a moment they don't feel it. Mainly because they have other concerns to worry about, otherwise known as the other fire. Oh, I'm no longer feeling the pain from the fire. I'm now unconscious from the other fire. This is a fire monk, and I love it.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Mhm.
I mean, oh, go ahead, Serenity.
I mean, I guess, because I'm gonna take a guess. I did have to step out for a little bit. This class does kind of play around with the idea of wax play, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I honestly think the rendition of this for wax play is very good when it comes about the pain aspect of it. But again, with everything having to do with pain, there's also pleasure,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there really isn't an aspect of pleasure
which
in
I
this class.
really, which that's the only downside I see with this class. I'm like, if they would make a pleasure aspect to it, then I feel like this would embody the kink a little bit better. But
Yeah.
this just literally embodies of oh, don't play with fire. Ooh.
Yeah. That's kind of what I've been saying with some of the other subclasses that uh that focus specifically on pain, where I I I like kinky things that focus more on the pleasure side, or at least can do both. We saw a couple of subclasses last time, like one of the barbarian ones does stuff with both pain and pleasure together, so it is
Mhm.
possible. But I think focusing on just one aspect over the other it isn't as useful as like the teaching tool of like encapsulating like the kink that is drawing inspiration from, because you don't you don't go to get hurt just for the sake of getting hurt. Like
Exactly.
yeah, you go and you get hurt because you enjoy it. So having some, like, the blazing drive thing of giving yourself a pain to then get a benefit, that is like the closest thing that this subclass comes to, where okay, you take on pain to get some kind of benefit.
Mhm.
But
And from what
yeah,
I
that's like
see
the
with this subclass, if you bring yourself onto pain, you're not getting any benefit other from what I can tell. It's like there's no benefit in this pain
yeah,
that you're
it's
inflicting on
only,
yourself.
yeah, it's only a little bit. Yeah, you give yourself one pain point to give your unarmed strikes more damage equal to your current pain. So you get one extra damage for this turn, and then two next turn if you do this again. But
Mhm.
yeah, it's very small.
And to add to that real quick, the other thing is that we know there is a negative side to having too much pain, because you can only go up to your half of your constitution. So at most you can probably get up to, if you have a 20 constitution, the max you can get is 10. And that means that and so the most you can use this ability before the negative side effect is 9, which in and of itself, 9 fire damage, if you hit, is pretty good. But you also run the risk of an additional ally, or you run the risk of additional pain point coming from an outside source affecting you, and then you get the -2 to your Constitution and your Dex because you're in so much pain.
Yeah.
And then there's the edging
Yeah.
angel, so we don't talk about that one.
Oh god.
Yeah, it's a chastity angel that edges you.
Yeah. So, and so I like
Anyway.
this, but I also feel like I would say this. It looks like the fact that you get the gauntlets to start with, so you don't have to go like on a major quest to get them, is a good thing. It does so because a lot of the times when you have classes that specialize in, like, for example, artificers, they usually have to have like some kind of reason as to how they're building their gadgets, and they could lose that. I feel like if you lost your gauntlets, that would be a huge disadvantage.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah. So but on the same half, you could always make the argument that maybe they're permanently bound to your character because of the wax, because maybe maybe it's a ritual. Again, it's open to interpretation, but like that's up to the DM to decide, like, if that's how he wants to run that story. But I would say this, like, as long as you don't lose the gauntlets, you have a formidable foe. If you do lose the gauntlets, you can't do shit.
True.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I kind of like it in that way, because sure, yours is a bit more powerful, but there are downsides and also things that you have to respect. A lot of games play with that respecting element, where you may lose your abilities temporarily and then have to either earn them back or find them again. And we love those games for it.
Mhm.
And I think that's a good way to end the monk subclasses. It's like all three of them were unique in that they basically focus on different aspects, but they all have like different, like for example, one focused on grappling, one focused on using gauntlets to produce magic wax, and the other one was step on me, mommy, I want to feel my spine crack. So I like that.
I mean,
So now we're gonna
Yes.
go into the weird one because we're gonna be talking
Oh,
about the
yeah.
paladins. And before we go into the paladin subclasses, I gotta say, paladins and kinks do not seem like they go together in any way because paladins are known for piety, chastity, lawful good, obeying a god.
I
Wait,
mean,
But
wait,
here,
Garson, have you ever not heard of the oath of the paladin of who takes the oath of throwing it back?
No?
Ayo?
No, you haven't. Okay, you have referenced. You have This is called. This is done by the same guy who did the if D&D players were on a game show. That's the same guy. He's
yeah,
done
yeah,
skits like that
he's the
before.
throwing it
He's
back
still
paladin.
he's the paladin who's
But
known for throwing it back. Which
also, if
honestly, I
Let
love
Serenity
that.
talk. Let Serenity talk.
sorry, my apologies.
It's really funny. I think Garson, you should really watch this. You would get a laugh out of
I
that.
think I'm going to after that because I do want to hear
Yeah.
that. But speaking, so I'm gonna check that out for sure, Serenity. Chitter,
Mhm.
what were you going to say, real quick?
Yeah. What I find fascinating is that sure, a paladin can be this like holy figure, but we talked a couple episodes ago about how there are angels in this world that can be full of lust.
Mhm.
Natalie, for example, one of the NPCs. She is full of lust, full of domination and having other people serve her, and she doesn't lose an ounce of divinity.
Mhm. It's because people willingly give their service to her. She builds that connection with people. So in Bundheim, where consent is the morality axis, then yeah, she is an embodiment of all that is good in that world.
So with
So
that
yeah.
being said, let's take. Oh, Mantis, did you have anything you wanted to add real quick before we go on to the subclasses?
Mm, no.
Okay, well, we're going to go on to the subclasses then for Paladin, and we're going to start with the Oath of the Indomitable Paladin, which I've seen the artwork for this. I have no idea what this is supposed to be. Oh my god, I just saw what the shields look like.
Good job.
Good job.
I've seen the
Oh!
artwork. Apparently not.
I seen the artwork. I didn't realize that that's what was on the shields. Oh boy. Oh, we are definitely going to want to get the VOD of this one quick before it gets taken down.
Yeah, if I may describe this one, because I feel not to speak to anyone else, I feel like maybe Serenity and maybe Cross might get this one, but this one I understand completely. So if anyone else wants to add anything before I proceed to yap everyone's ear off again.
I will just say, just overall, I will have to go soon, unfortunately. But I think I can talk about this for a little bit.
Yeah, we're going to keep going. I want to at least get to the rogues because there's one, and I want Serenity's opinion on one of the rogues because
Oh my god.
yeah, I know for a fact Serenity's going to have a lot to say on that rogue.
Absolutely. But again, the another point I want to make too, because I think I know the kink that this whole like the paladins being kinky. It's all about corruption, and
Yeah,
what.
I wouldn't say so.
No, hear me out. Hear me out though. Like a
Let
lot.
her talk.
Okay, so when it comes to the kink of corruption, a lot of people, there is a small majority that do. Again, it's corrupting of. Again, it's hard. Look, okay, I want you to think with me, okay? If you, especially in the Catholic religion, there are people who are known as nuns. What do nuns do? Take a vow of celibacy. they don't have the kinky relations because they are married to the Lord. So, and if you kind of play that with to the kink of corruption, that means, oh, maybe what's so holy and innocent ain't so holy and innocent.
Slowly looks to Cersei and Omari.
Yeah, I was about to
Uh,
say, but that's becoming more wholesome, which that's the opposite
Yes.
side of the corruption.
I
But I think it's again the reason why I think this really goes well together because a lot of people it doesn't even need to be taken in the kink form. Also, when it comes to like social aspects of the church, sometimes there's a lot of different corruptions that a lot of people don't know about, or some
Mm.
people don't understand or are informed about a lot. Again, that's I again, it's a very case by case basis. I'm not saying like the every church of everything is like corrupted and down with the church, but I mean, it again, the I hate to say it, the loud minority kind of messes up for the silent majority.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
I
no.
need to.
That's good to say.
You need to head out,
I
Mantis?
need to step out.
All right.
Yep, it is my time to leave.
Okay.
I do
Yes,
appreciate being a
man.
part of this, and y'all be safe. Y'all continue to have fun, and I will contact you the second I'm able to.
All right. Be safe, Mantis.
Okay.
Thank you for
Mantis.
your
Bye,
your
Mantis.
contribution.
Mwah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Love you.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Okay, so I'm just gonna turn the display off real quick as I scroll down past the. For those of you who are wondering what happened on the shield, imagine
Oh, I
Yeah.
love that.
imagine
love
two
it.
bondage
want-
angels who are like ornamental. I'm just gonna leave it at that.
So
Here's the.
It's like wall designs. It's just on the shield, you know.
Actually, I'm going to say a sentence that's going to make Serenity go, oh, and Garson probably scream in panic. If you read the class features, those aren't ornamental. Those are people.
Oh god.
Oh,
Oh god, no. No.
oh gosh, yes. So hold on.
The kink of this subclass is objectification.
Oh, that's cool. Oh, I like that.
But
Ooh.
here's the best
Oh.
part about it. This is why I love this class. And Serenity.
Uh-huh.
This is the reason why I said the corruption part isn't exactly true.
No.
At least with this class. Because you might be looking at that originally and going, okay, so this paladin is being a goddamn asshole and throwing people that they see as things in front of them. No. If you read it, you can either target a willing creature up to 60 feet or an unwilling creature within 15 feet. A creature bound in this way is restrained and grappled by you, but attacks against it do not gain advantage. And while bound to the Sargat,
The shield.
any damage dealt to the creature is dealt to you instead, and they are considered to have 3/4 cover.
Oh, what? So let me get clarification on that.
Mhm.
So whatever damage you deal, what that creatures would get, you get only at like 3/4 of the strength.
So what it is you're taking damage in place of the creature that you have bound to your shield, and the 3/4 cover part, cover adds on AC bonuses to someone because they're hiding behind cover, so they're harder to hit. So while someone is bound to your shield, they're restrained, but they're harder to hit because they're protected still by the
Okay.
shield's metal. And
And-
even if they do get hit, the paladin is the one taking the damage.
You are essentially it is turning a person into an object, but that is the whole thing. That's the whole kink. Turning a person into an object. That's
You're,
just
you're you're turning someone into the object you're turning them into is something that is treasured and to be protected.
Okay, so basically you're I'm sorry, I'm just because when I think shield, I think of, something that's sturdy and
Mhm,
that is meant to take some hits. So
mhm.
hearing it from the perspective of, oh, this should be actually protected by the wielder is a little bit difficult to wrap my brain around because it's usually
You
the other way around with shields. So like let me get this straight. So you have somebody bound to your shield, they don't take damage?
Yeah, it's weird. Like, when you look at the
That's
picture, you would imagine that,
really
oh,
weird.
yeah, you hit the person, they're getting hurt.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
it's just it's the magic of the paladin that the damage goes through and into the paladin directly. So
See,
it's yeah, I see how it could be confusing.
yeah, that's kind of very confusing. Like, especially again, kind of a new-ish player. If you read that and you're like, what the hell does that mean? Like you're just like,
Mm.
what the fuck does that mean? So, and I mean, like, don't get me wrong, that does sound cool, but again, I don't find that
It,
as that's a big disadvantage. Like,
it's very much something that the this this class is the other side of the combination for other stuff that we've been talking about where it needed a second person.
oh, so oh yeah, this would definitely be one with the coupled up with another subclass. So
Mm.
this one would not work by itself. It needs
This one
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
Yeah,
this one would work best with the service druid.
absolutely. Yeah, this would
Oh man,
oh
what a combo!
imagine just that dynamic. Oh, oh, oh,
What a combo!
that sounds like a good Saturday night.
Yeah.
I actually have a question, and I've
Yeah.
been trying to read this, but
Mhm.
when it comes to what is in the shield, do you get to choose what goes in the shield, or does the shield automatically come with those two in them? Because if it's the former, then I can see you putting like your wizards and your sorcerers in there for protection, and then
That's what it is.
okay, so that's how
Yeah.
that works. That's how the gameplay works on
Yeah.
this thing. Okay, so
Yeah, when you go back to the first feature, it says, yeah, as an action, you release tendrils of divine energy to bind a creature of your size or smaller that you can see within into one of your shields.
Yeah.
But you could choose a willing creature or an unwilling creature.
And here's the thing, with the unwilling creature, this is where things get interesting because you could go, I want to protect this person. That's great. However, if you decide, you know what, I don't want to protect anyone today, I'm going to leave them in living hell. You
Yep.
can bind an unwilling one and then go living shield. As a reaction when you are hit by an attack and have at least one unwilling creature, it cannot be a willing creature, but you have an unwilling creature bound to your Sargat, you can have it hit them. And you just
Mhm.
go, you're doing my work for me today, object.
Yep.
I'm not gonna.
Okay.
I'm not gonna lie. This sounds like
Yeah.
something Bunsworth would have played.
I feel
Lol.
like Bunsworth would have fun with this.
I'm not gonna
Also,
lie.
really quick, I have to get going now.
Okay, we're gonna
Fair
keep
enough.
going. We're gonna keep going. But Cross, thank you for your contribution. You know we love
you.
having you on
Yes.
Yeah.
So
I love you
Cross,
all
I
too.
have
You
to
are all amazing.
bye, LMRI.
here. We'll see you
Take
tomorrow
care.
for Uni.
Tomorrow.
Take care. Bye bye.
Big hugs.
Bye.
Big hugs.
Hudson.
Oh. Okay, and then there were 3. I'm gonna adjust the reactives real quick. But no, like, but like just off of what I'm saying here, this is a pretty interesting take on it. But the question is, can they save against being put in the shield, and can they escape the shield? Because if you could just put them in the shield, that pretty much nullifies the fight.
They can. An unwilling creature must succeed on a charisma saving throw versus your spell save DC or be bound. Unwilling creatures can repeat the saving throw at the end of each of their turns, escaping on a success.
Basically, what you're saying is even if they're bound in the shield for say like one turn, they can still get out. It's not a permanent, oh, you're mine forever now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, I can see where that can get kind of messy.
Yeah. This is a class that, again, has to be. These classes like these are why session zeros exist.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Never
Like
underestimate the importance of session 0.
Yeah. Like for me personally, this would be a top 3 class for me to play. Because this is something that I would want to do. But in my defense, it would be top 3 only because I would more prefer to be the service druid side of this combination.
I was about to
Again,
say, with your personality, you're more of a service druid if you were to do that team up.
yeah, I'm not saying I'm not, and also shut up.
If the shoe fits, wear it, sweetheart.
It's true.
Yeah, fair. Me. But
Me, 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 me.
But here's the thing. I love classes like this where it takes a part of the character and a part of the class that is so often ignored or just made into like, oh yeah, you also have this thing. And it makes it the focus because that sets up. I'm someone who's a storyteller when it comes to DMing. I love it when the characters have a hook. And this kind of character, even though it's really difficult, even though it would require like some session 0 work, some setting of boundaries, etc., which again you'd be doing anyways, I hope.
If you're not, please, if you are, to any of the listeners, if you ever are in like a D&D session to where they don't have a session 0 or they don't set boundaries beforehand, please get out of that situation. Get out,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
because
But
that's the biggest red flag.
yeah. But this is very much a class that I respect because once you have that session 0 and you start to build your character, the simplest question comes up and it's a hook for this character from the start. Why do you have that Sargat? Just that
Why?
one question. And that
Be like, why
character
shield? Why the shield?
Yeah. Why have that? And also what heroic reason do you have for this class? Because it is a paladin. Why did you take this oath specifically? And boom. I know it's a simple question for a paladin, but for this kind of paladin, the simplest question makes the most interesting story.
Mhm.
And honestly, the other thing about this particular paladin is that it's I would say probably the tankiest paladin we've ever seen because all of its unique subclass features are strictly protections. It doesn't deal much damage. Not that it really needs to. Tanks are not meant to be the damage dealers. They're meant to make the party alive. And if you have something like this in your party, you're gonna live. Whether or not you want to live that way, that's up to you.
And just straight up, you have Indomitable Champion at level 20. Now, again, level 20, you're talking about God Slayers at this point. But for once a short rest, you could just do a bonus action and say, yeah, about that damage, that's null and void now for a turn. For a turn!
For a whole turn. That's crazy.
Yeah. I think we could go into more detail on the Oath of the Indomitable Paladin, but it's pretty simple what it is. It's a tank that likes to bundle up its enemies or its allies into the shield, reduce their damage if it's an ally, make it so the enemies take the damage, and at the end of the day, it's just a big, bulky, tanky class, and I love it. I love big, bulk, tanky classes that know what they're doing.
Mhm.
And also, it is a little bit broken because Unyielding Bulwark at level 15, it lets it. You can let one willing creature bound to you gain resistance to any of the elemental damages, which that can shut down a lot of trap monsters as well as certain dragons. Because
Mhm.
so like have the extra AC from being in 3/4 cover, and then have the additional resistance. Oh, that's chef's kiss. I love it. So great class. Moving on. We're gonna move on to the next. Okay, I'm gonna say this right now. I'm not looking forward to this next one because this is just this. There's like so many things I have questions on, but we're gonna move.
Okay, I'm
Okay.
okay. I'm just going to say this right now.
Mhm.
It's a common running joke that I'm into everything here,
Yeah.
and
Are
and
you
this
chitter?
class is no exception. But
Okay.
also, I have a partner who is into it, who got
Oh.
who got me into it, and
Mhm.
such I can understand the appeal coming from someone on the outside. This is a class that I'm excited to talk about because I know the intricacies.
Okay.
So without
Garson, you
yes.
want to tell us? You want to tell us what this class is?
I do actually. So we're gonna be looking at the Oath of the Sagittarian Paladin, which is the Pony Play Paladin.
Yay!
So we're gonna well, we're gonna have Chitter explain what this class is in detail,
Yeah.
but I'm gonna just give
I-
what I think it is real
First
quick.
question.
Yes.
First question. It's just like, can Shitter, can you explain what pony play is? Like, I don't know it like a
You
lot,
know what?
like in
That's
depth. I just
You're right.
for the instant, I'm asking this question probably because the audience are like, what the hell is this? What the hell are they talking about? So, would you like to enlighten both me and Garson about what the fuck that kink is?
Okay, because apparently I'm the one who's done a bit of everything. Apparently,
Yeah.
Exactly.
uh,
Yeah,
uh,
exactly. So,
um, pony play is as it says on the author's note, it's a derivative of pet play. It's very specifically focused. It is what it says on the tin. Pony play is the act of transforming a person into acting like an equine, having an equine form. So, in association to the aesthetic details associated with it, a common element is the dehumanization, because again, pet play is about that dehumanization of transforming it into a beast of burden. Often, pony play involves utilizing carts or other travel devices pulled by the person taking on the horse-like form. And that may seem like you're getting off on someone pushing a cart. Not so much. It's the scene of having that power over that horse. Uh,
mm,
a lot of uh, a lot of very common bits and pieces, no pun intended,
mm,
include bit gags to put in their mouth, blinders to like, you know how horses need the blinders so that they focus.
mm,
Um, boots or leg apparatuses that add like hooves. It can even be like gloves that add like, if you really want to go for that like humanoid horse immersion, there's
mm.
gloves that have like the hooves and faux tails that can either be wrapped around or put somewhere else. And this bit of play is very much focused. It very much is a kink that has a lot of um let me ask you guys something just really quickly, just so I can
Yeah.
just to see how much I need to explain.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys
Mhm.
know the difference between direct sexual play and indirect sexual play?
I'm gonna take a stab at it. Isn't like an example of it like foreplay?
That's still direct.
Well, yeah, it can be like
Yeah.
well, foreplay is direct. I just don't know what. But wouldn't like okay. dirty talk, wouldn't that be indirect? Because you're
That would be a form of indirect, yes.
yeah. So basically, it's for dumbing it down. It's basically dirty talk and well, one form of dirty talk, or and then like foreplay.
Yeah, it's very much a case of like setting the scene, setting the mood, and increasing the arousal. It's making it so that the person is very much aroused, and it
Mm.
can even be a scene and form of play all in of itself where the person finishes and has a great time
Mhm.
fully through indirect. And pony play is a great example of indirect because you look at it and you go, cool, that's great. I'm not gonna fuck a horse.
And yeah, we're putting that out there. This is not actually going out and finding a horse and having
Yeah.
that kind of
No, that's a
relationship.
different kink, and one I don't
that-
think we can actually talk about as
No,
it might be
no,
illegal.
it
Yeah,
is very
no.
illegal in some states.
Yeah. But pony play is very much the case of taking a sentient human. I want to be very clear when I say that. Taking
This is human.
it's a human and dressing them up like a beast of burden, like a work animal, and having that sense of control, that sense of effort needed to please the person in control, and that scene of being close and intimate, but also that simulated distance.
Hmm. It's like the thing of, oh, you're working towards a goal, but it seems so just out of your reach.
Yeah. And like for example with the image that
Hmm.
is shown, there's you can show that image and you're like, oh, there's not too much sexual stuff directly. But if
Hmm.
you also look at it, that person is being restrained, that person is being controlled, that person is being led to do things not of their own direct free will. They're being told what to do.
Hmm.
And that can be a very, very comforting sensation. That's a reason why me and my partner are into pony play, because the
Hmm.
one who's being submissive is very comforted in the fact that on their side it's simplistic,
Hmm.
but also on the other side it's very empowering because you are in complete control, and it's that feeling of domination and control in a way that's unique and in a way that is recog I hate to say it in this way, but it really is how the human brain is wired. It's a recognizable power play in a way that the brain can easily ascertain who is in power and who is not.
Hmm.
Because if the horse is in control, you bloody well know the horse is in control. And if you set a scene like that, then there's a reason why you want that. But if you are in control of the horse, well, you set the scene the opposite way, and the horse very much knows that you're in control.
Hmm.
So I have a question then.
Yes?
How is this different from the fursuit kink of being furry then?
Yeah, that's also. I mean, I think it could be like. I don't
I
know.
if I
That's a
may,
good
Mhm.
question. Yeah.
it's as it says, it's a derivative of pet play. Pet play kind of aligns with furries in it's the kinky side of furry. So yes, it is a derivative of it, but it's not the focus, if that makes sense. The
Okay.
obviously the obviously there is an animalistic side to it, but the focus is being of like quote unquote work and also that control and domination. All three of those aspects play together. Furry is very much an expression of dehumanization in a way that is like, I'm not a human for a certain amount of time, or I'm role playing as something that is not a human. That is part of the aspect, but it is not the focus for this one.
I can see that, honestly, just from what I'm seeing here.
Yeah, it's kind of like, yeah, I think that's the best way to describe it. It's kind of like the example between a hot dog and a chili cheese dog. Where, sure, the chili cheese dog is a derivative of the hot dog, but you're not getting the chili cheese dog for the hot dog. You're getting it because there's chili and cheese on it.
Right.
You specifically want that full experience. If someone said to you, "Oh, if you got a chili cheese dog," and the person looked at you and went, "Okay, cool, so you want a hot dog," you would look at them and go, "No, that's not what I said."
Like, no, get it right. I want a chili cheese dog.
Yeah. Where the hot dog is part of the experience, just like how furry is part of the experience for pony play in the dehumanization, but it's not the focus. It's not the main part.
Well, I can see that. And I think it does a good job of representing that in the class. But from a gameplay perspective, and don't take this the wrong way, I think this is probably the weakest class we've seen in the book so far.
I'm just going to throw this out here. I actually tend to disagree.
Well,
I mean, I think a class, I think every class even like could not be every like, when I say this, I mean like every source of like, not everyone has to be a fighter. Not every class has to be good in battle. Some classes are good with espionage, some classes are good with persuasion, some are good with like, I don't know, like religion and academics and stuff like that. So I think like I think Garson, I understand what you mean when you said this is weak in probably a one standpoint of a class, but I think this also could be strong in its own set of, in its own, in the situation where it's needed.
well,
Actually, if I may make a defense of this class, this would be my number one class that I would want to be as. Like, number one. And there's a reason for that. Because, well, actually, it's a number one if you go based on current D&D. It's not a number one if you go by classic 2014 D&D. Like, I'm not talking about I'm not talking classic 2014 D&D as Tasha's or Mordenkainen's Monsters of the Multiverse. I'm talking before that. And there's a reason for that. It's because the way this class works is that you're riding with a second character who is smaller, who is your size or smaller. Now, the thing is that with a lot of the classes at the time, it would be very difficult to justify it from a gameplay point of view for having medium to medium. That doesn't feel quite right. But if you're medium to small or large to medium, that makes more sense. That's how I would rule it anyway. And I can see why they said your size to make it from a gameplay perspective, but from a storytelling perspective, it doesn't really add up. But the thing is that this makes you part of someone else's combination.
So
And
this is another one of those combination classes.
Mm-hmm.
but this one is unique in that it can be any combination. Because it's simply put, mounts are really fucking expensive in D&D.
Oh
And
yeah.
they're really obscure. Like they're hard to come by. So you're taking part of that risk. And sure, you aren't able, you can't make any attacks or use items. You can still cast spells. They share your space and move with you when you move. But the thing is that you're playing into a support paladin, and you get to do some cool attacks. You may do any of the following actions while you are mounted, which are like charge strike, circle flank, and hind kick. And as a bonus action, you get to do some other stuff. In my opinion, to be quite frank, I'm helping a teammate. My move pool is significantly easier to play as a paladin. Because I only have to worry about a few things, again, playing into that simplistic nature of being the pony in this. And there's no real concern from like a story perspective of having a significant risk of things getting awkward. Because, like, for example, with the pet druid and the indomitable paladin, that's very specifically you need to have someone planned with. This one is just straight up hop on and I'll help you. And that's
Yeah, so what you're saying is that this is a option for people who are really just be like, "Hey, I want to help you."
yeah. And this one also this one makes me feel like you're embracing part of that paladin aspect of being in service. And there's story perspectives of why you chose to go the route of acting like a horse. And then you can do other things with it. You can then focus on being helpful to your teammates. You can focus on the role play aspects. You're not you're actually doing the exact opposite of what the sadist was doing. You're making your shit easier to do. You have a set list of shit you can do, and it's small. And if you want to do anything extra, it's very limited, and you have to. And you'll have planned it out at least a turn in advance. It makes things incredibly easy. And honestly, if I'm just being honest, it's a fun idea because you get to be this unique idea, and you get to have fun with the idea of, hey, maybe we need a mount in this situation. Maybe we want to have fun with a new form of combat. Mounted combat is rare as hell. It's a new form of combat. It's more rare than naval combat. But this is a way to do it without breaking your goddamn character's bank.
So so that might be a take that you have on that, Shitter, but let me give you my take on it. The problem I have with this class, and this is strictly just probably from a me perspective, but this class is designed to work in tandem with some other classes. Well, not other classes, with another player. And the problem I have with that is that you can never guarantee that you're going to have that other character around to get the full benefit of everything that you're building in your as the Order of the Sagittarian. Because everything you described without a rider basically means that you are basically limited to certain aspects. You're stuck. You can't do the full. You can't like offer your full range of benefits unless you have a rider. Like for example, just to take a look at this, like let's take a look at the Holy Steed. Like you take on the form of a divine. You take the form of like a Pegasus or a angelic horse. And what do you really gain out of it? You gain resistance to all damage from creatures other than yourself. That's great. That's a great bonus. You gain flight, which is very good. I don't dispute that. But then but without the rider, it loses some of that extra benefit that you would have because you don't really gain the ability to do anything with it without having a subset. And when you have a class that has to rely on another player, there's always a risk that you are either going to be very good or you're going to be very bad. And there's really not a lot of middle ground between that because you have to probably sometimes rely on, say, a character that does well with melee damage. So you have to be in close range to do it. And sometimes that's great if you build your character to specialize in helping out with close range combat and you end up being paired with the wizard's going to be able to do a lot, is not really going to need you. So you're kind of like stuck between I'm either a great benefit to my team or I'm not really doing much. And I think there are going to be more moments in a campaign where you're not going to be doing much given the toolkit that this class has, as opposed to doing a lot like how you're depicting it. Now, if you're just doing it for the kink side of it, that's a different story. We could have that conversation. We could definitely have that conversation. Oh, and speaking of, we actually Neffy would like to join us as well. So let's see. So we're gonna
Neffy!
Yeah, so we're gonna
bring
move.
bring my dragon.
If we could just stay on this one just for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a reason why I want Neffy in to hear about this class in particular.
Okay.
Hi, Neffy.
Hi. What are we talking about today?
Pony
We're
Paladin.
talking about paladins, but not the holy ones.
Oh, the
Holy
horny
and
paladins.
Yes,
The horny paladin.
my favorite paladins.
All right.
All right.
There's
We're talking about in specific. It's like more along the fact of like pony play.
yeah.
Oh.
And
Yeah, no, we literally had to have Chitter educate us on like the aspects of it.
okay, Neffy, do you want me to educate you too?
No, because I understand the gist of it.
Okay, great. So there's a thing that I think needs to be basically said about this. And that basically, how do I say this? It's not that you're not wrong in what you say. I don't want that to come across that way. Like I can see where you're coming from, where if you don't have someone riding on you, you're a little bit boned.
Yeah.
Wow, that is probably the funniest line of this entire episode.
Hey, I want that line on a t-shirt.
That should be a sub alert.
It should be a sub alert. Hey Garson, let's work on that later. Let's work on making it a sub alert.
God
But
damn
also
it.
I see it as like a sticker. I can also see it as
we
like
could
on
make
a
it a
t-shirt.
sticker, yeah.
We can make a sticker. We can make it on a t-shirt. I want it on a t-shirt.
I want it on a hat. Like one of
Or
those
hat.
hats.
Yes.
Yeah.
Have it on those flat bill caps. Oh,
Okay.
God.
But back to what Chitter was saying.
Mhm.
The thing is that especially if it's a medium character, or like say, or like what is it? Like pretty much any type of medium character or small to tiny, it's very much a case of, sure, if you don't have someone on there, you're kind of screwed. But also, you want to be there. You want to be there because mounts are insane on their own. Like, you don't have to worry about an animal handling check to control the mount because you're the mount.
Yes.
The AC is sure it's the AC of the mount that uses their own AC because taking the hits themselves. But they benefit from the rider's saving throws. For mounted attacks, they can make melee attacks from mounts using their own. And there's an unbridled spell where this particular mount can give that one doing the attack a spell slot to do a spell. So basically, for example, if you choose Cure Wounds for this effect and your rider casts Bless, after the Bless spell finishes taking effect, all creatures affected by Bless will be healed by Cure Wounds. That's a single person spell going for a Bless effect. Then you also have advantage on melee attacks, where a mounted creature makes a melee weapon against a target. It gains advantage on the attack roll if the target is smaller or the same size as the mount. So if you're a medium, that's a freaking amazing moment. And when the mount takes a dash action, its movement is doubled for that turn. So the mount and the person mounted gets double speed. Disengage and dodge actions are insane. Mounted archery is really cool. Initiative is basically, the same. And there's the mounted combatant feat where it's like, hey, you ride with me a lot. Let's work on that and get really in tandem with riding with each other. And I'm going for all the sound clips. But
Yes.
don't get me wrong, Garson. I'm not saying that you're not correct in saying that if you don't have a rider, you're fucked. But the thing is that being mounted is such a benefit not only to you, but to the other person, that if they aren't doing it, you haven't been communicating it properly.
And I think what that comes down to, basically, it comes down to if you are like, say if you are pairing this up with another player, right? It comes down to the level of trust, level of communication, and the level of of knowing that you can that your confidant player is going to be there.
Yeah.
Because
this is very much a session 0 class where you want to say this to the rest of the party going, hey, please ride me.
Quick, the boss fight is coming. Mount me.
Quick,
I'm ready.
Yeah. But the thing is that it's such a benefit to even the person who's doing the mounting that that's what I mean by it plays into any character class, because you're not dealing with just a wild animal. You're dealing with the person who wants to do the same things you're doing.
And there's a lot of fact in that, and I'm not disputing that there is a lot of benefit to it, but the problem is, and this is the same thing I had with, like, the reason I prefer, like, okay, when we did the last episode and we talked about the Gentle Dom, that one, that one I felt was probably a better example of doing this type of gameplay because it didn't really rely on a lot of pre-setup. It was like, it was just giving buffs to one particular target. Here, I feel like you can't pick, like, large-scale riders. It has to be about your height, and that's probably not the biggest issue. But let's say, like, for example, I feel like if you were the Gentle Dom Bard, you could do stuff by yourself in the event that you got separated. I'm not seeing that here. Maybe in
Yeah, no,
practice. Yeah. I'm sorry. I was just saying
yeah,
maybe in practice.
you're saying so Garson, correct me if I'm wrong when saying. So what you're trying to say is this would be very there's so much you're saying there's a lot of preset like you know pre-preparation for this class that it can be seen as a hassle to an
Kind
unexperienced
of.
DM.
Kind of. It's not the prepping that I find the problem. What I find the problem is that this feels like it's specifically designed to be with another player, but
Yeah,
and the hassle comes into the fact that there are going to be probably scenarios where you are not with other party members, so you were running the risk of not being able to do much on your own. And it's like having a safety option in certain classes where if you were alone as a normal paladin, you probably could get away with some things, like maybe not everything, but like enough to probably put up a decent fight while you were getting your friends back together. Here, I feel like if you were all locked in a jail without a writer, this class is not going to do much of anything. And when you're in the big bad guys lair, because there's going to be traps in a big bad guys lair where you could get separated, or you could be in a situation where you can't use the mounted feature, or you're not really like the problem I have with mounts is that, like Chitter said, they are unique and they offer a lot of benefit. But there is a chance that they're going to be a situation where the mount is not going to be, without the writer, the mount can't do much on its own. And that's basically what's distilled in this class, is that without the writer, I don't see this being able to do much of anything. Or what it can do by itself is not very good. Like, for example, your 15th level ability, you Spry Step. You can dash or disengage as a bonus action. That's good, but it's not really like I would consider a 15th level ability, because at level 15, yeah, dashing and disengaging as a bonus action is great, but rogues do that at level 3. And
yeah,
and they do it, and they can do it multiple times in a row. This is essentially the same thing, but like
I will say this.
Mhm.
There is a failsafe built into it that allows the paladin to do what it needs to do on its own. And it is, I'm not going to lie and say that it's out in the open, but it's built into the subclass as a failsafe, where it says while you are being mounted, you cannot make any attacks with weapons or use items, but you may still cast spells. So if you aren't mounted, you can make attacks, use items, and cast spells. And to be quite fair, paladins prepare spells. You're going into this kind of with an expectation that every single long rest, if you don't have a rider, you have at least some form of backup plan.
Well, my
and
last
again, we could go on
Yeah,
and
we
on
can.
and on about this, and this could honestly, I could see this as its own video topic,
Yeah.
for itself.
We should
So we
yeah.
are gonna move
This-
on to the next one because
Yeah, this is the reason why I want to play this class, just to give it the fair chance it deserves.
I
So
thought it was because you really wanted to be mounted.
Yes, but I also want to give the class the fair play.
fair
I understand
enough.
all about the
Yeah,
fair
fair
play, but I feel like what more is you really want.
Look, my hand has not gone down for any of these subclasses that they are my king. What more do you want from me?
Well, I think we're So
Someone-
with that, I think
Oh.
I think we're gonna be on this for another 30 minutes if we keep talking about it. We're
Yeah,
gonna
yeah,
move
yeah.
on to the
So,
Rangers
because
now.
I'm excited. I'm
Ooh,
excited
I like this one.
for
Right.
this one because
So this is actually the one.
Ooh.
This is the one I wanted to talk about with Serenity the
Hey,
most.
Let's go.
So we're gonna talk.
Paraphilia.
So yeah.
Let's
So before we
go.
get into the kink itself, we're gonna be talking about the Horrorling Witch Ranger. Now, for those of you who are not familiar, Rangers are typically the arrow and bow characters, but they do oftentimes are like fighting with two swords or stuff like that. They're basically like a cousin to the fighter. The Horrorling Witch Ranger, though, is the monster fucker. It's the monster fucker class. And the minute I saw it, I was like, I have to talk about this with Serenity because there's no way I can do this justice
Hey,
without Serenity.
Hey, I'm a monster fucker
Yeah.
too, so.
Yeah, also Neffy is here. Neffy can help
So-
me also with this. But I'm going to
Hi there.
define.
And it matters
also-
much, but my hand is stayed up.
Okay, yes, but like Chitter, I'm not around a lot, so this is good to talk with me about too.
Exactly.
I know. I just wanted to throw in that my hand has still not gone down.
You want to be included. Oh, that's cute. I love you, Chitter.
Help! I'm
All of
feeling a
you.
little left out that I haven't been able to fuck the 23rd thing in a row. Please let me contribute.
Okay, so I'm going let me contribute, please. Okay, anyway.
Oh no, I'm lost in the
Tan-
woods.
Stop, Neffy, stop.
Okay, Serenity, go ahead. Go ahead,
Okay,
Serenity.
so again, if you for the people who don't know what this kink is, let me give you the definition of paraphilia. Paraphilia is defined by the intense or reoccurring sexual arousal from atypical situations, objects, fantasies, behaviors, individuals, or places. It can be described as a sexual interest in anything other than a legally consenting partner. Paraphilias can also be arousal from animals, not but corpses or inanimate objects, and it can also involve suffering or humiliation in oneself or a partner. Now, people who are associated with this kink, usually what they are monster fuckers.
Monster fuckers unite. Let's go.
Let's go because
Let's go.
honestly,
Yeah.
like it's let's be honest, as much as there's no monsters in the real world, there's not.
We
know,
need the monster
we need-
DLC.
We need the monster DLC.
I wear my
really
fucking
bad.
dragon, bro.
Yeah, I will pay like whatever amount of money I
will
need
pay the
for
last
that.
dollar in my account to fuck a
will-
dragon.
I will give you a kidney.
I'll give you my kidney.
I'm just gonna let you three talk about
I
this.
only
then.
need one.
Okay, yeah. But I think this one again, this one is fun because a lot of people, and for me, I have the mentality of this of being a monster fucker. I'm like, I want to do what is the impossible.
Mm.
So, and that can come in the situation that we all know and love in D&D, as in seducing the dragon, because that's
Teehee.
Neffy.
You want to seduce the dragon? Okay. That's a DC of
Because
20.
yeah, Chitter, you are a DM. Isn't the DC for like seducing anything that isn't human? Isn't it really high usually?
Generally, yes, that comes from not only being a different species, but not knowing the customs. So
Exactly.
you're basically trying to persuade someone, like for example, who lives
I'm
in a Middle
attracted.
you're trying to seduce someone in a Middle Eastern country with a Western way of seducing someone.
Mhm.
Good fucking luck with that.
Exactly. So it's
Next one,
basically
let's go.
yeah. So like again, it's just it's the impossible situation make it possible that kind of gives me the thrill of it. And also at the end, once I've done the unthinkable thing, that no one thought I could do. I have bragging rights to be like, "Hey, yo, guess what?
I fucked the dragon.
I fucked the dragon. Or I seduced a giant. Or you know what? I had sex with a giant. You know, like
I
that kind
I made
that
out
kind
with
of
a spider and survived.
exactly. It's basically
Hey
the whole
yo, I
the
mean that's how I was
bragging
born,
rights.
Neffy.
That's definitely how Chitter was
Damn.
born. But again,
Okay.
All right, let's let
it's
Serenity go.
it's again with this, it's a whole other of the bragging rights. Also, being like, I did this. Can you say you've done that? I don't think so.
I can
Kind of
imagine like
thing.
the sassy finger wag. No,
Yeah.
no, no.
And be like, but again, I honestly, this class looks really cool, and I really, hoo hoo, hoo
Mm.
hoo, hoo. Hey, Chitter, you want to tell us a little bit more about this? About like,
Um,
some of the features of this subclass?
actually, I would, and
No,
it's
you
not
take it
for.
away. Take it away. Take it away, Chitter.
Now, here's the thing. Obviously, there's the terodophile, uh, philia, like thing of being a monster fucker and being
Mhm.
bonded with an indescribable aberrant creature and slowly being changed by it. There's that. Yes, kinky, go fuck the dragon. Anyways, moving on.
Yeah, but that's the reason I brought that up is a lot of people probably that's the first thing they think of when
Oh,
it comes to this, because
oh,
again, a lot of
And Melissa.
stereotype. Yeah, I was about to say, and also every
Melissa.
bard in existence having
yeah.
the I'm going to
I'm going to
fucking
seduce
that
this creature.
I'm going to seduce anything that has legs, basically.
Absolutely.
Looks at
Yeah.
the table. Oh no.
But what I find so fascinating about this is that this takes the warlock and goes, fuck you, I did it better.
Oh, I love that. I kind of want to bring this to a future session. I want to Chitter will have to help me make a character like this. This will be so fun.
Here's the thing. I've tried to do warlock sorcerer combos with this bullshit, and it hasn't come close to what this did. This looks at the warlock and sorcerers and goes, fuck you, I did it in a subclass, you fucking bitch.
With a ranger.
With
Yeah.
a ranger.
There's a reason why I say this, okay?
Mhm.
There's been a lot of UA done of this theme of the being inside of them. There's been a lot of subclasses of making a pact with someone as a warlock and then the being not being there. Like
Mhm.
like for example, Baldur's Gate 3, that super amazing popular game you may have heard of.
Mm.
The warlock pact is just not included. The warlock pack is flavor only. And that makes me angry because the being there should be there. And this class, as a ranger, did it so much better. It did it amazingly better.
But tell us how you really
Sorry.
feel.
Yeah,
I-
I love this. Tell us how you really feel.
Look, here's the thing. Garson, without spoiling anything, this is the idea I had for fucking Keza.
I was about to say, Keza, this gives
What?
Keza vibes. Like
It does.
it does.
This rough idea is what I've had for Keza, and I've been teasing it the entire damn campaign.
Well, again, we're kind of stupid, so we don't understand.
No.
that.
The thing is that you're not supposed to get it right now. Me and Garson have been teasing it, but the general basis of this being bonded to something that is abnormal, that is unexpected, that is completely different from the person in terms of morality, in terms of being, that is the whole purpose of this. And I have tried to make this character concept in different subclasses multiple times. 5 times in 5 years I've tried to make this concept work, and it pulls it off flawlessly. Like, genuinely, some of my favorite characters. I wish Cross was here, because he would tell you. Garson, message Cross and tell him that Shitter's having a freak out right now. Because
Shitter's freaking out about this certain class.
This idea, I have worked with him for years to try to get this idea to work as a DM and player. I have tried for literal years. I tried a Strixhaven one. I tried a Critical Role one. I tried a Forgotten Realms one. I tried an Original World one. I have tried for years to try to get this concept down. And here it is going, well, actually, you should have been a ranger.
Exactly. It'd be like, you were just missing one little part.
I genuinely have tried to make this character concept work in Warlocks with the Great Old One, with a demon, with the Undying, with the Aberrant Mind, with what was some of the other one? With the Bard, the College of Spirits. I tried to do a Bard College of Spirits, and this does it better than this. I tried to do it so many times because I always thought I didn't do it well enough. I could have included something else. I should have done something else. And this, the spells, Armor of Agathis, Darkness, Hunger of Hadar, Enervation, Maddening Darkness. I was on the right track with the Aberrant Mind and the Great Old One with this being. And then you're bonded telepathically. You can speak with it. If you become unbonded or it's forcibly removed from you, you take that psychic damage. And then you regain those lost hit points if the Horrorling is returned to you. It's this being that you have to be with. And then it slowly transforms you over time. And then with Feast, you can eat away at things that are strong and gain power from it. And the inseparable pair is basically, if the Horrorling is removed from you, you die. You've gained the power. But basically, you've become this aberrant being yourself. I have tried to make that purpose for years, literal years. I have so much artwork of this character concept in mind. I am genuinely wanting to play this character concept like outside of this book, because I have tried for literal years. I've tried for half a decade to make this concept work, and it's just here, and I'm losing my goddamn mind.
Yeah, you are.
So
Love you, Shooter, 'cause
anyway.
you are. So hold on. Let me put this in a modern term that I think a lot of people will understand. So it's like this. It's literally like Eddie Brock and Venom.
Yes.
So basically, for all the Marvel fans, you know exactly what this is. You know.
Sorry, I'm just having a moment.
So you're passionate.
Just don't have a
Because
stroke on camera. We don't get health insurance.
We won't.
I do, because I'm Canadian.
Well, of course you do. You're Canadian. We're Americans. It doesn't work.
We're
like that.
suffering down here.
Yeah,
But yeah.
Sorry. I
No,
just
this is the whole, like, the dynamic of how Eddie Brock needs Venom and how Venom needs Eddie Brock.
okay. Garson, can I ask a favor? Can I ask a favor of you for the edit?
Sure. I can try. What?
Can I link a photo to? Can I link a piece of artwork that I made, that I got commissioned 5-6 years ago, of one of my very first attempts with this concept? And just kind of show it in like a chat real quick, like art.
Sure. I don't think I'm gonna be able to look at it just yet, but I'm gonna briefly talk about the class itself.
Sorry, I lost my mind because everything that I'm seeing here, everything in this class, I have tried to make in one form or another with one or more iterations of this character idea. And I'm actually going to start crying because this idea I have been trying for years to get down to where I feel it's good. Like, I know I sound insane, but this is an idea that I have actually been struggling with for years. Years!
So anyway, the Horling Ranger. It seems like the best way to describe this is it feels a cross between Venom from the Venom movies more than the actual book Venom, but it also feels like you could make an argument that this actually plays into anime like Parasite and to a lesser extent even Pokemon, because your Horling, which you get at like level 3. It starts off small, but as you level up, it'll also gain new abilities, and I kind of like that, as the Furious Rantings of Chitter has described it in 15 seconds ago.
Jesus.
But
I'm so sorry. I rambled.
Don't
No,
apologize.
don't
You are
apologize.
passionate about it,
Yeah.
and it shows in your work and if with with like your character creation. It shows how passionate you are.
I, however, am a snarky bastard, so I have to continue my brand. Anyway.
Also, oh my goodness,
Okay.
this is great.
But yeah,
love
go ahead. So, what were you gonna say, Serenity?
I love this subclass. Honestly, I there's nothing I don't love about this subclass. Like this, if you were to say, hey, pick a class that you would play, I'm like this one.
This is pretty, like, I like Spellblade kind of characters that use swords and magic at the same time, and this falls right under it. I mean, obviously maybe the spells are a little limited, but that's okay. You get some really good ones. Hunger of Haydare we talked about. We're actually making a video about Hunger of Haydare, so I'm happy that this is on here too. Armor of Agathith, which this is like, I think this gives you temporary hit points. Or
yes, but also
Mhm.
as long as you have those temporary hit points, they take ice damage to the initial amount of temp HP you had.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. And Darkness is always a good utility spell. Maddening Darkness, I've never heard of that before, and I think it's just more like an advanced version of regular Darkness, so it's Advanced Darkness.
It's darkness with
This
extra
isn't
steps.
just darkness. This is advanced darkness.
Exactly.
But no, it's basically what it is. It's like darkness with extra steps.
You're right.
Actually, it's insanely powerful. It's an 8th level spell for a reason, because not only is it bigger darkness, non-magical light as well as light created by spells 8th level or lower cannot illuminate the area. But here's the thing. If you think, oh, this is just bigger darkness, I can stay in here and I'll be totally fine.
Nope.
No, you need to make a wisdom saving throw, or you're going to take a fireball of psychic damage each turn.
Fireball.
Okay, we can definitely say. But on top of that, it also gains extra attacks with the Horling, which I think is pretty nice too. Fury of Fang and Claws, that's more of a 15th level spell than the Spry Step from before. Again, not bringing that up, just pointing out how I feel. And you also, if you're including the Blundheim pleasure mechanics, then you will always have at least 3 pleasure points, which is pretty good. If I'm being honest, this is a well-rounded damage dealing class that feels like it has options when you are both solo and with party, and you're always got at least one helper in the form of the Horrorling, and eventually you could even make it that you merge with it at the very end and become like Venom. Which we all love Venom. Venom's a fun character. I love Tom Hardy.
We love Venom.
Yes.
We love Venom in this house.
Does this and then also, of course, you get stuff like the Spider Walk, the Eyes of the Horling, which lets you see in darkness for 120 feet, and Claws and Pincers. So, and then just the symbology of this. So this is a fantastic subclass. I love this. Okay,
Yeah.
I need to make sure we can. I don't know if we can see all the next art, so I'm going to temporarily take this off.
So I do have to go get dinner for my mom and me. So I hate to skedaddle skadoodle, but you gotta
Our
go.
dicks
if
are
you
gonna be
gotta go.
noodles.
I know. I'm so sorry.
I'm gonna be honest with you guys. We have so much more We have so many more classes. I don't think we're gonna get to them all today. We're gonna be here for like 5 hours if we do that.
Yeah,
I can't wait to
no.
get to the
Do you want to
monsters.
just call it? Do you want to just call it right here, and we can go?
Yeah, this
We
would be a good.
Yeah,
stopping point.
we got at least okay. So we got one more episode of Kinks and Cantrips next week, and we're gonna finish this.
One.
Well, we got
No,
we're
this is a whole series.
no. We got, but
Yeah, we-
I'm saying like we got one more in the tank. I thought we would finish that one today.
Oh, okay.
Clearly,
okay.
we're not.
I get. Yeah.
Probably we got 2 based on how many subclasses there are. I'm just
Oh, yeah.
saying.
I just can't wait for the fucking monsters.
We did talk about the monsters briefly, but we can like because that was actually 2 episodes ago. Definitely, we
Because
talked.
I'm now just looking at the fucking dragon.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about them.
Okay, so we're gonna end it
Mm.
here. I want to thank everyone who came on the show today. Naturally, Cross, Serenity, Neffy, Chitter, all of them. I want to say I want to give a big thank you to.
And we wish safe trips to Mantis.
And safe trips to
safe
Mantis.
trips to Mantis.
Yes, we don't know where Mantis is going. He will talk to us when he gets there, but doesn't matter. We want to give a safety to our friend, our fabulous dragon boy, and know that he's in our hearts and minds. So, if you are watching this on YouTube, or wherever you may be watching this, please, for the love of God, like and comment and sub on the video. We need you to do that, because when you do that, we all take, because if you don't, we take it in the rear for the algorithm, because the algorithm hates us. It does not love you. It does not hate you. It simply wants you to like a video so that the video is popular. That is all it wants.
Exactly.
So, we are going to end. So, from everyone here at Forgotten Table Tales, I want to say thank you. We're going to be back next week with possibly one. We're definitely going to do 1, maybe 2 more episodes on Kinks and Cantrips. And then afterwards, we're actually going to be talking about another new book. Oboe, so I'm going to just I'm just going to say this right now. We're going to be, our next topic after we complete Kinks and Cantrips is going to be a new book that I found that I'm really excited about. We're going to be talking about, I'm trying to remember how to pronounce it though, because I don't know how to say it properly. Let me look it up real quick, just so I'm saying like, Obojima. That's it. It's Obojima. Yes. Obojima. And so what that is we're going to be talking, it's going to be a Studio Ghibli inspired D&D book.
Ooh.
Yeah, with artwork, classes, characters, settings, all inspired by Studio. Yes.
Do we have the cat bus?
There's a cat. Well, I don't know if there's a cat bus. I haven't read the book just yet, but they did talk about how it was inspired by.
Buzz.
Well, I think they're gonna be in there. I'm gonna send like when we get to, believe me when I say that they're cat spirits, so I wouldn't put it past there being a cat bus. But like, you know what? Real quick, I'm gonna see if I can. No, I don't think I can show this yet. We'll show it at the end of before we do the series. We'll talk about it. But Obojima is gonna be our next book we're gonna be talking about, because as someone who is a bunch of animation background and has literally written term papers on Studio Ghibli, that's going to be where I'm going to have a lot to say, and I can't wait to talk about it. And it's got classes, characters, a new potion brewing mechanic that I actually hope to include in our main campaign when we get a chance to, because I love it.
Ooh.
And once again, if you are watching this, if you would like to purchase a copy of Kinks and Cantrips, we are going to include the link in the description below. Please support the official release and the official creator of the book. They worked hard on it. They had a lot of research into making this as accessible as possible and to treat each class as its own unique thing. And the last announcement I have to say is in April, we have been talking about this book so much that I have simply decided that I'm going to be putting together a 2-shot of this book for the blue site. We're going to be, the longer awaited return of Garson's blue site is going to be, we're going to be doing a Kinks and Cantrips 2-shot now.
Let's
Wait,
go.
now?
No, April.
No,
April. We're doing it in April.
In April. So we're gonna be doing a fun campaign.
Now, I'm going to let y'all know, the party, we don't have a full party just yet. Right now it's going to be Tiger Valentine, Sharky, and Chitter. Those 3 I'm aware of. I don't know if we're gonna have another DM, so if I have to DM it, so be it. But I did want to potentially play it because I have the name of my character already planned out. Here,
I know that Neko has wanted to DM a game of it, and I know that Cross wants to play.
I honestly, I would like to see how Cross DMs.
we will pitch the idea because
Yeah,
if it
we'll
was
pitch the idea.
yeah, because
to him.
I want to
We'll talk more about it.
right, exactly. But that's for April. We still got half a month left. We still got more episodes to do. Clearly, we'll talk about that more then. But by the way, I just want to quickly say this. Like, I absolutely have enjoyed doing these episodes with you guys, and I'm looking forward to, at some point, covering everything in this book, because at this point, I've just been having a blast with it. I hope you all have been having a blast, too.
Oh, absolutely.
Yee!
Yay!
All right, well, that's it for everyone. We're going to this is the end of the video. Like, follow, subscribe, and we'll talk to you all later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.